Welcome to the Full Story series, where me and the team bring together a lot of our older videos, bringing you a long, giant epic. These span multiple years most of the time, meaning that our styles do change and things are handled differently as we go through. And most notably, a lot of times my voiceover voices will change as we're going because, I think this Batman run took about 2 years to get from beginning to end. So today we're going to be covering the New 52 Batman run, starting with Batman in the Court of the Owls, ending with Batman's death and rebirth. So, I need to let you know there is 2 storylines that take place in this, actually 3, that we are not including in this. This is just the core Scott Snyder New 52 run. So we are not including Batman Eternal, we are not including Batman and Robin Eternal, and we are not including the Death of Robin series that happened between Inc. and Batman and Robin and all that other stuff. We'll make other full stories for those, so make sure you subscribe if you enjoy this. But I just wanted to let you know they are not included in this video. Now, let's go ahead and kick off one of my favorite Batman runs for all time, the Scott Snyder New 52 one. And I know, my grammar didn't work there. Just enjoy the video. It all began 17 years ago. It's a story as classic as they come. The wealthy Thomas and Martha Wayne were walking home after watching the movie Zorro with their son Bruce. Thomas Wayne was a world-renowned doctor, and Martha was a spokeswoman for countless charities. They spent their short time with their son teaching him integrity and compassion. But it was the man in the shadows that night. He taught Bruce the darkness. Thomas and Martha Wayne decided to walk down the dark alley as a shortcut to get home. But the 3 Waynes were mugged that night. The mystery man killed both his parents that night, and as Bruce prepared to die also, the man ran as he couldn't kill the child. The young Bruce Wayne tried to explain and rationalize what had happened, but everyone saw his face, that blank stare he had as he tried to cope. But he wasn't just cold and heartless. He was upset that he had lost his parents. And this gave him drive and purpose. He wanted to make a world where no one would ever die again, and no one would ever feel how he felt right now. He needed to stand up to fear. As much as Alfred tried to be what Bruce Wayne needed, he vanished, because he needed to find it himself. Now, with the death of the Waynes, it sparked a downward spiral for Gotham City. The Waynes were the elite, the richest of the rich, and the ones who were trying to save Gotham. But with their death, Gotham only saw more crime rise, and everyone realized that if even the Waynes could be gunned down in some random alley, then anybody could. While Gotham was on this spiral downward, Bruce Wayne was trying to achieve the goal that he set out for himself at such a young age: to never let anyone die again. He learned every form of martial arts that he could. He studied with the greatest inventors and thinkers in the world. He learned how to master combat driving and various forms of transportation. And he learned from the greatest individuals the world had to offer, until eventually, he returned to Gotham with new drive and new purpose. But he learned he wasn't ready. Everything he learned wasn't enough, and this was proven to him by the Red Hood gang. You see, Bruce had traveled the world to be able to fight criminals, but the criminals of Gotham, they had become monsters. Bruce had donned a disguise to fight against Red Hood 1, but he was defeated, forcing him to rethink his plans. How could he fight against monsters? How could he fight against costumed criminals? Well, while he was figuring this out, Edward Nygma, yes, the Edward Nygma that would eventually become the Riddler, was working for Bruce's uncle, as the man who led all of the business strategies to Wayne Industries. While Bruce's uncle didn't intend to fight against Bruce if he wanted to return and run his own family's company, Edward realizes that this could be a disaster for him. So he hires the Red Hood gang to kill off Bruce. The gang eventually corners Bruce and they beat him to a pulp, declaring that his parents' death changed more than the young boy. It created the Red Hood gang. So Bruce manages to escape and he retreats back to Wayne Manor, where Alfred patches him up. A normal sane man would have left town or gotten the police involved at this point. But Bruce, he was above that, and he realized that his original plan could work. He could keep people from dying in Gotham. He could take care of criminals. But he would need to strike fear into them. He would need to find some way to make them fear him. And that's what he figured out. The bat scared him as a child, so he'll strike fear into the villains of Gotham as a bat. And if they want to become costumed villains, he'll become a costumed superhero. Gotham City, the year before the Justice League was revealed to the world and would come together to fight against Darkseid. It's a haven of crime, monsters, and the darkest scum in the earth. And as two criminals try to tackle a child for catching a fish, Batman rides up on a dirt bike, dropping both of them and grabbing the bag with the fish in it. He held it up to the child and told him, "You dropped your fish." "Thanks. He thinks you're dead, you know. He's been telling everyone that ever since he killed the city." "Good. He won't see me coming." 5 months before that event, Bruce Wayne is sitting in a torn mask, sitting on the roof of a parking garage with a truck filled with hostages, and Red Hood 1 pointing a gun at the car, with his entire gang standing by his side. Seeing no other option, Bruce Wayne reaches into his bag and he pulls out a grappling gun, as Alfred is yelling in his earpiece, "Sir, don't do it! It can't support the weight!" "It'll hold, Alfred." Bruce then hooks the grappling hook up to the truck and then to the crane nearby. He pulls the truck off of the building just as the Red Hood gang jumps out of the way in time. The truck then swings into a nearby bay where it and all of the hostages fall into the water. Bruce resurfaces, flipping off Red Hood 1. He then goes back to his hideout with his butler, Alfred, there, and Bruce explains the situation. The Red Hood gang is led by the faceless leader, Red Hood 1, and each of its members are faceless to each other, all blackmailed into helping him. They aren't even criminals half the time, just individuals that he can blackmail. Bruce continues, "It's a new type of crime. When I left all of those years ago, it was street crime running rampant. Now it's a hidden crime. Speaking of things that are hidden, Master Bruce, shouldn't you alert Gotham City of your return from the dead? I know you don't approve, Alfred, but Bruce Wayne is legally dead and he'll remain that way." "Master Bruce." "Alfred, I told you to call me Bruce." "I'm afraid I can't. When you first asked me to join you in this insane job, the truth is I was hoping to talk some sense into you. This is guerrilla warfare, Alfred, and I think I'm more effective like this." Bruce then puts some masks and tools into a bag before walking back into the main hall, where he tells Alfred he'll be driving himself today. And then when they open the door, they find Uncle Philip Kane standing there. "How did you find you? I've had a search going for you ever since you left. I should have known I only needed to watch Pennyworth. Care to go for a ride, my son?" Philip Kane explains that it is he who declared Bruce dead so that he could run the company properly and ensure that it didn't fall apart. The Kanes are not well looked upon in Gotham, but the marriage of Thomas Wayne and Martha Kane was something to celebrate, so he didn't want to see that legacy fall. He then wants Bruce to come back. He wants him to run Wayne Enterprises again. Wayne Enterprises is a staple of Gotham and it needs a Wayne at its head. He then pleaded with Bruce to at least just come inside the building and see what he's built. But Bruce told him, "No, I want to remain dead for now." And he apologized to his uncle and told him that that's just not who he wants to be anymore. Philip asked him, "Then who are you?" Bruce went back to his apartment in Crime Alley and he got his supplies for the next job, while Philip went to see his advisor, Edward Nygma. Philip begins to lay out the situation. "The city hates me for what we're building here, and the Red Hood gang insists on stealing from us." "The answer is simple," Edward informs him. "We need to kill Bruce Wayne." The Red Hood gang proceeded to take an entire blimp hostage, including Mr. Cobblepot. Red Hood 1 reaches into a crate and he pulls out a new Wayne Tech Sonic rifle, but before he can use it, Cobblepot leaps at him, getting shocked by the helmet. Red Hood 1 laughs it off. "I know who you are. You're the vigilante that's been trying to stop us. You had me fooled. What is that, a fat suit? And aren't you 6 feet tall?" Bruce drops the coat and makes spines pop out of his forearms, and the Red Hood gang starts trying to fight against him, but he kicks them all back, and as they tear off his mask, he hides his face behind one of the thugs. Red Hood 1 taunts him. "Do you want me to throw you a red hood? Maybe show you my face?" Bruce pushes the thug aside, and while hiding his face, he slices Red Hood 1 in the side, and he makes a break for it. "That won't be necessary. I have your DNA." And then he jumps out the window, and using his magnetic shoes, he attaches to the underside of the blimp. He then moves into the maintenance area where he grabs the real Cobblepot that he left there, and he jumps off the blimp using a parachute. Back in his hideout, Bruce explains that he is afraid of what he sees because he is losing this war. The DNA that they got was useless, and now Red Hood 1 is taking over rival gangs in Gotham, almost to prove that he can and for no other reason. To top it all off, he now somehow has Wayne Enterprises weapons in his arsenal. Then Bruce notices Alfred isn't responding, so he tells him, "If you have something to say, then say it." Alfred tells him, "You're going to lose this war. You are doomed. Even if you are able to take down the Red Hood gang, there will be another one after them, and another one after them. This war might not be winnable, Alfred, but it's mine, and I'm getting tired of your skepticism. It's not the war that I take issue with, sir. I have fought in less noble wars than this one. What I take issue with is your cowardice." "My cowardice? I'm out there risking my life to take down a gang that's rotting the city from the inside out. The city that my parents lovingly fought for. They fought in the public eye, sir. You are fighting as a ghost, while you let the name of Bruce Wayne and the Wayne legacy rot. The city is being run by a sad, angry man with no purpose. I think your parents would be ashamed of you. Bruce then grabs Alfred by the tie. Is that so? Well, what example have you set by hiding in your mausoleum, polishing the silver? Who's the real coward? Alfred slaps Bruce. They both look each other in the eye, and Alfred decides that it might be better for him to return to the manor. Once Alfred leaves, Bruce thinks about it and he decides to call up his uncle Philip. He wants to talk to him. Philip has Bruce meet him in the museum at midnight, a place that they both went in Bruce's childhood. Bruce wanted to talk to Philip about the missing weapons and the fact that the Red Hood gang has taken them, but Philip was hoping that Bruce had finally decided to take the company. Philip asks him one last time and Bruce interrupts him. I'm sorry, Philip, I just can't have a public face right now. I can't explain it, but Bruce Wayne has to be dead. If you insist, Bruce. And then Philip hits a switch, turning all of the lights on. Standing in front of Bruce is a welcoming party assembled specifically for him with reporters and old friends. Bruce turns to him. What the hell are you doing, Philip? And Philip explains a story from his childhood, a story in which he was lost in a cave. He explains that he didn't want to leave that cave either, but his father came and dragged him out kicking and screaming. He even has a metal plate in his head due to that. But sometimes it's the best thing to have yourself thrown into the mix. Bruce couldn't believe that Philip just revealed him to all of Gotham and he stormed off to the back hallways of the museum. That's where he ran into Edward Nygma in the Hall of Egypt. He confronts Mr. Wayne. The only way out of this room is through the Avery Wing. Bruce eyeballs him. Is that a riddle? Why would you say that? There is no Avery Wing. Sorry, I got carried away with the spirit of the room. But you know, Mr. Wayne, the Egyptians are responsible for some of the first board games. They sometimes ask to be buried with their games above their riches. My favorite has this design that makes it look like an Ouroboros, a circular beast that eats its own parts. Not that different from your own uncle. If he keeps going the way he's going, he'll have no arms left. Bruce thinks about it. No arms? Does that mean something, Nygma? Everything means something. Or should I think? You're saying that my uncle is giving away arms to Red Hood? Why would he do that? They're terrorists. I supposed against my better judgment that he gave away all of the small pieces to keep them away from the big pieces. Bruce then climbs up on the Sphinx itself to the window above everything because the Egyptian Sphinx are the only sphinxes without wings. So you climb up the head. He climbs out and he tells Nygma, try harder next time. Bruce then makes his way back to his apartment, just in time for it to explode. Bruce grabs a shield off the wall and he blocks himself in the explosion with it. Then Red Hood 1 helps him up. You should never have come back here, Bruce. Then using the weapons in his home, the gang beats him down over and over until they are nothing but a blur in front of him. Red Hood 1 then explains, the night that you lost your parents, a lot of things changed in Gotham itself, not just for you. I remember my foster parents buying a lock for the door and the neighbors coming home with the Saturday night special. Because at the end of the day, people are afraid of nothingness, the randomness. That's the day that I came up with the idea for this gang, to wear the Red Hood to court the wolf, rather than hide, eat us all, wolf. But there is one thorn in the Red Hood's side, and Bruce reminds him of that man. Regardless, the vigilante will be gone soon, just like Bruce Wayne. The gang then leaves Bruce there, bleeding on the ground, and once they leave, Bruce crawls over to a panel that unlocks his secret room and a back door out of the building. Bleeding as he goes, he drags himself to the forest, into an elevator, and into the back door of the Wayne Manor, where he collapses. Meanwhile, Philip confronts Nygma. You maniac! You killed Bruce! I barely knew him, and I could tell that he was a better man than both of us. No argument there. It needed to happen. I was pressuring him. He would have come around. Well, no, he wouldn't have. His parents were killed in an alley with a gun. He would have come for the company and taken it from you. I did you a favor. Philip prepares to fire his gun to kill Nygma, but Nygma says his final words. Kane. Philip hits the ground as magnets turn on in the room, affecting the plate in his head. Enigma tells him goodbye, leaving him there on the floor. Bruce wakes up the next morning with Alfred putting stitches into his body, all over his body. He was on the brink of death. The moment he wakes up though, he gets up and Alfred tells him, no matter how much they disagree, he'll always be there to patch him up. Bruce Wayne walks through the manor. He hasn't been here since his return to Gotham, and he looks at all of the memories, the photos, and the good times from his childhood. During his walks, though, he comes across an orb, a piece of Wayne technology that his father was perfecting, and as he walks into the main study, tells it to show him. The orb then turns on and it shows him the massive holographic scale plans of a massive cave structure, one right beneath the manor, because right beneath Wayne Manor is the lifeblood of the city. Then, hologram bats from the orb fly through the window and through Bruce Wayne's chest. Bruce sees what he has to be. He sees his purpose. He will become the Bat. He will become fear. Some time passed with the Red Hood gang continuing their reign over Gotham, but on one of their jobs, one of the men turned around to find all of his friends tied up to a sign in the shape of a bat. Then Batman swung in, grabbing him, informing him that his bat still needs a head. He has been trying to stop as many of the Red Hood gang's jobs as he can, but he's still failing to see a pattern. They're stealing chemicals and trying to cover it up with other thefts so it can get drowned out. If only Bruce could see their endgame. So he decides to do something that he hasn't done since the Red Hood gang blew up his apartment and apparently killed Bruce Wayne. It's time to go talk to his uncle Philip. Philip has been running Wayne Enterprises with Bruce Wayne missing and is to blame for the Red Hood gang getting their hands on the Wayne Tech guns. Philip is overjoyed that Bruce is alive though. He never wanted this to happen and things are getting out of control and it's getting insane. So Bruce asks him for access to the system so that he can see what the Red Hood gang is doing, and Philip willingly gives it up. After inviting Philip to come live at the manor for his own protection, Philip tells him no, and Bruce went back to the cave that he discovered and has been building up. Alfred climbs down the ladder, commenting that as long as there isn't a fire pole, he can manage with the ladder. But Bruce reassures him that he'll build a cave entrance in the study soon. He begins looking through the Wayne Tech records and discovers one site that hasn't been touched and has everything that the Red Hood gang wants. Following the pattern that he's finally starting to figure out, he knows exactly what they are planning and when. Alfred tells him that he has to try and stop it. The facility is heavily guarded, but maybe Batman can. And Bruce stops him. I don't think Batman can handle this, but I know someone else who should. So Bruce decides to make a public statement claiming to have information on the Red Hood gang. The news outlets are all up in arms. First they all thought that Bruce was dead, then he came back, then he supposedly died at another explosion, and now he's claiming that he has information on the Red Hood gang? He gives a speech about Gotham, what it is and what it means to everyone, and what it means to him. That this city has been overrun by the gangs and by Red Hood, telling everyone that their lives mean nothing. But the facility behind him, the Ace Chemicals facility, is the location of their next job. They intend to make a chemical cocktail, a radioactive poison that will eat someone's flesh, and they want to explode the cocktail in different locations around the city. Gordon lets out a long drag from his cigarette at that news. He's been watching the reveal from the outskirts, and he sees the Red Hood gang taking position in the facility, and they launch some rockets at the news crews and Bruce. He shouts, "Everyone get down!" and everything explodes around them. With the fire burning, Bruce tells Alfred, "It's time." Everyone begins to panic and run, and the GCPD is trying to run into the building, but Bruce slips in ahead of them and he can see the rest of the Red Hood gang preparing, and he realizes that this whole building is one giant dirty bomb. That's when a gun is pointed at his head and Red Hood 1 tells him, "How sweet it is that you threw us a party." Red Hood 1 has his gang lock the doors and keep the police out. He then shows Bruce the cocktail being loaded up into the trucks, getting ready to go. Bruce was dead on about their plans. "I'm honestly glad that you get to see this, Bruce. The circle that opened 15 years ago with your parents' death, and it now closes with yours, here tonight. Tomorrow we will start over with a new night, a new Gotham." You're so full of shit. You don't stand for any truth at the heart of anything. You pretend you do, talking randomness of life and the meaningless. But it's all a sham. My parents' death might have been meaningless, but their lives were not. With a grin that you can even see under his mask, Red Hood 1 prepares to pull the trigger and kill Bruce when the lights go out. No one knows what's going on. There are blocks with no power, and the GCPD is asking everyone what is happening. It's the chopper overhead that tells everyone. The lights went out in the shape of a bat. In the darkness, the Red Hood gang puts on their night vision and they watch as Batman swings in, grabbing Bruce Wayne and carrying him away. Then he gives the order. Now. Everyone wearing their night vision goggles gets blinded instantly as the lights all go back on, and then Batman swoops back in to begin fighting against the gang while Red Hood 1 steps back and he takes his helmet off for his eyes to adjust. He throws his helmet back on and he tells everyone to finish loading the trucks. They are almost ready! Batman keeps dropping each and every one of them over and over until he is cornered at the top of the stairs. He then attaches his grappling line to one of the gang members and he rides him to the bottom of the stairs, shouting, "Yeehaw!" He then retracts the gun, knocking down each and every one of the gang members on the stairs. While this is going on, Red Hood 1 lines up a shot. He has Batman dead to rights, and then a bullet ricochets off his helmet. It's one of his own gang members shooting at him, so he fires back at the gang member, shooting him in the stomach. Batman turns around and he shouts, "No!" as the facility begins to go up in smoke around him with explosions. He runs up the stairs as the explosions knock Red Hood 1 down, and Gordon is finally able to get in as the door is blown open by the fire. Batman then kneels down by the side of the fallen gang member, bleeding out. He has a feeling that he knows who this is. Red Hood 1 blackmails normal individuals into joining their gang. Meanwhile, Red Hood 1 is shouting for everyone to grab what they can and get out of there. They need to move now. But his gang is telling him that the bay doors won't open, they won't respond. While Alfred sits at his computer, they're responding just fine. Batman pulls off the gang member's hood to see his Uncle Philip spitting up blood. He looks into his uncle's eyes, and Gordon shouts, "Freeze!" Batman turns around to see Gordon with the GCPD demanding he surrender quietly, and he stands back up. "You need to step back now." Ha! Is that so? Because Batman fires a gun loaded with a beanbag at Gordon, knocking him down just as a support beam hits the spot that he was standing. Then in the confusion, he makes a break for it as they open fire on him. He runs up to the roof where he sees Red Hood 1 making a break for a helicopter. "So long, bats!" But Batman isn't done as he sprints over the rooftop as it's crumbling beneath his feet, and he makes a leap for the ladder that Red Hood 1 is on. "Now, you idiot! You'll!" Red Hood 1 shouts just as the ladder falls apart and they both begin to fall back down into the burning chemical facility. Batman tries to get to his feet in the confusion, calling Alfred to tell him that he's in bad shape, but Red Hood 1 cracks him over the back with a steel pipe. Then he comes down to stomp on Batman's head, and Batman grabs Red Hood's foot and throws him down. Both men stand on a crumbling bridge when one of the vats beneath them launches its top off, splitting the bridge in half, and Red Hood begins to slip. As he clings on, he turns to Batman. "It's you under that hood, isn't it, my little vigilante? My, how you've evolved." Batman calls to him, "The railing won't hold. Give me your hand." And Red Hood coughs. "That's no fun. Come on, now it's over. Ha! Wouldn't you like to think so? See, it's only the beginning," the Red Hood tells him with a smile. He then lets go, smiling the whole way down. Batman shouts, but his call is lost to no one listening. Red Hood falls into the vat beneath him, and the green chemicals begin to swallow him up. Some time passes, and Alfred walks to a grandfather clock in the study that opens to the entrance to the Batcave. He walks down to Bruce sitting in front of a giant computer screen. "Are you sure that it's large enough, sir?" "Batman doesn't do subtle, Alfred." "No, I guess he doesn't, but he is clever." Such as looping an image of Batman swooping in to save Bruce Wayne on the Red Hood gang's stolen Wayne Tech night vision. That's the idea, at least. Bruce explains that no body was found for this Red Hood 1, only his mask. Everyone in the gang gave up the name Liam Distel. So then Mr. Distel is still out there, crippled by his fall into... No, that's it. They found Liam Distel's body yesterday. It was shoved into a barrel of lye in an amusement park a mile out. Lye? Exactly. Lye dissolved the better part of his remains, meaning that there is no way to tell when he was killed or placed there. So you're saying that it's all a mystery, Alfred. We know for sure that at some point in the last year, someone murdered Distel and the original Red Hood leader took his place. But what we don't know is if the man I found in the factory was a patsy or the real Red Hood leader himself. Or, for all we know, someone swapped places with the imposter on the rooftop. We have no way of knowing. All that matters is that the Red Hood gang is defeated, right? But then, at that moment, someone comes over the television. Ahem, ahem. Hello, Gotham! Hello, you and you down there. My name, in case you were wondering, is Nigma. Edward Nigma, but you can call me the Riddler, and I'm here to make you smarter. It's my mission, my calling, my duty. Riddle me this, Gotham. There are two sisters. Each gives birth to the other. Who are they? No? I'll give you a hint. One sister says, "I am the day," and the other one says, "I am the dark, dark night." Then, the entire power grid goes out, and the whole city goes dark. Let the games begin, Gotham. The Batmobile races down the streets of Gotham with the police chasing it, and just when they think they have the Batmobile, it launches itself into the sky and it skips over the police. While this is happening, Gordon and Bullock are looking at an interesting murder case. A man whose bones have grown out of control, expanding beyond his body. Batman was here looking at it, and Bullock asks if the Bat was here to clean up after his own mess. But Gordon doesn't think that that's the case. The city is in shambles. A terrorist has blacked out the whole city, and a superstorm is about to come to Gotham, hitting it hard. While this is going on, Commissioner Loeb of the GCPD is looking for this vigilante. But maybe, just maybe, lunatic or not, he is providing a little light in the darkness. Back in the Batcave, Bruce and Alfred go over the situation. The Riddler has turned off all of the lights everywhere. Gotham Light and Power are close to repairing it, but Bruce thinks this whole thing is weird. There is something wrong with this. The Riddler considers everything a riddle. What he just did to the city is yet another riddle. Riddler wants them to turn the power back on. While this is going on, Bruce is already looking at the individuals that died by the bones expanding. It's a formula that Wayne Enterprises was developing. The idea was that bones would instantly heal if any broke, allowing soldiers to push on if needed. But the version being used forces the bones to grow radically out of the subject, ripping them apart from the inside out. With this knowledge, he climbs out of the hole in the ground which leads to the Batcave to come face to face with Jim Gordon. He asks Gordon what he needs, and Gordon says it's good to see him back in town, What he did at Ace Chemical was brave. And then he goes on to apologize for his part in what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents that night. Your part? Lieutenant, I know all too well the things that you covered up. Don't ever talk to me about that night again unless you are ready for some true ugliness. Fine, but 2 of your scientists are already dead, injected with a serum that made bones grow out of their skin. There are bigger things here than you and me, Mr. Wayne. Like I said, Gordon, I have to go. As the night fell and the winds began, Bruce walked into the local Gotham University to seek out Lucius Fox to ask him about an old partner of his, the doctor that invented the bone serum. And Lucius reaches down to grab a needle, and he jabs it into Bruce's neck. What did you do? Bruce says, hitting the ground. I'm sorry, Bruce, but he's coming. Dr. Death is coming, and you're not going to be able to stop him. Then we see Dr. Death standing behind Lucius. No one will, old friend. This city's never seen anything like me, and I'm just getting started. Lucius was trying to get Bruce Wayne out of the way, but Dr. Death isn't playing anymore, and he attacks Lucius. Bruce gets back up, and he hits Dr. Death in the arm, breaking his forearm, but then it healed right back up, and Dr. Death threw Bruce across the room. Bruce, get out of here, Lucius called, and Dr. Death made the connection. Bruce Wayne? He tied Lucius up and he went looking for Bruce, but as he was poking around and calling out, Mr. Wayne, he went into the jet engine test lab and Bruce turned it on. It sucked him up quickly and Bruce ran to Lucius and got him free. The 2 men made a break for the West Corridor trying to get out, and Dr. Death appeared all rebuilt and massive in size. Leaving so soon? With one hand, he grabbed Bruce's head and he began to crush it, threatening to pop it open like a grape. And that's when he actually cracks his skull. But before he can completely squash Bruce Wayne's head, a shot goes off going through his shoulder with Jim Gordon looking down at Dr. Death from the barrel of his gun. Dr. Death makes a break for it while Bruce hits the ground and everyone runs to his side. Bruce woke up in the bed of the hospital with Alfred by his side and a handcuff on his foot. Alfred told him that his skull was fractured and that he needs rest. Bruce tries to get up, telling Alfred that he can't stop the Riddler here, and Dr. Death is now on the loose. And that's when Gordon walks in. We need to talk, Mr. Wayne. If you think I'm gonna thank you, you can go back to chasing Batman with Commissioner Loeb and company. I could, because you're right, even in the midst of a terrorist attack and the coming of a superstorm, Loeb only sees Batman because his popularity is an embarrassment to Commissioner Loeb. Now we're both trying to stop this man from killing people, and I'm telling you, we'll get this guy if we share information. But if we hide information, you're just gonna get in the way of things, and I can't allow that. You know what? You're right. I don't like you. Where did you get that trench coat you always wear, huh? I saw you that night, Gordon. When you picked me up with your partner, you were making the rounds before bringing me home, and he came out with a trench coat for you. You told me that it was a gift because you guys provided safety. People liked you. What I didn't understand that night is that that coat was a payoff, like all of your gifts. You weren't watching out for the people in that neighborhood. You were watching them suffer and die. Then Bruce makes a move, dropping Gordon to the ground, grabbing his gun, and pointing it at Gordon's face. In the alley behind the theater that night, I remember this view most vividly. Then he handed Gordon back his gun. If you want to arrest me, then do that, but I'll never trust you. Bruce Wayne walked out. As Gordon began to follow Bruce Wayne, an officer walked over to him, handing a note with a question mark on it, sharing information that Commissioner Loeb got that he was going to keep from Gordon. That night, Batman continues his investigation, riding out on the early Batboat, prepared to get this investigation going with the storm beating down on him. He walks into a lab to find that the doctor there is already being transformed as his bones are expanding, and that's when the police turn on their lights. The whole situation was a trap, and they open fire on Batman. Batman's cape and cowl begin to get shredded, and he drops tear gas on the ground before putting on his own gas mask. As he tries to call up Alfred, he realizes that they also cut off his communications. So in the gas, Batman begins beating the police down as he makes a break for his boat, and they blow up the boat. Batman is beaten and bleeding and floating in the bay where his boat was just at, and they start shooting at him again. He gets up and he runs back inside, where he runs past more bullets, eventually grabbing an oxygen tank and then jumping back in the water. While underwater, he breaks off the valve, and using the propulsion, he launches himself far, far away. As he comes up for air, a spotlight is beamed on him, and it's Jim Gordon. He tells Batman to get on board. I know it's a trap, but I wasn't a part of it. I agree with you, Batman. Batman gets on, and Gordon hands him his eyeglasses, telling him that he can take the mask off before the chemicals burn his eye. He then begins to boat back to shore. Batman asks him why he's helping, and Gordon tells him to restore balance. The return of Bruce Wayne started something. He explains that he met Bruce Wayne when he was a kid, and they brought him back to the station for his parents to pick him up. His partner and him went on their normal rounds while Bruce Wayne was in the back seat, and he saw him get a trench coat. But it was only his 3rd week in Gotham. He was hopeful of how good things could be here, but shortly after that he walked in on the police force and Commissioner Loeb putting down bets on a dog fighting ring. They invited him to join, but Gordon told him that this was wrong. It was against the law. So they put Gordon in the pit to fight those dogs, and he won. After that day, he did things his own way, the right way. The police force sent his daughter a Rottweiler as a reminder that they'll always remember him, so he wore the jacket to remind them that he'll always remember what happened. As he comes to the end of his story, Batman tells him to stop the boat as he gets off, and Gordon sees that he was about to hit the docks. Later that night, Batman figures out where Dr. Death is and he goes in to investigate. Alfred is confused. Why would Dr. Death be in the catacombs beneath Gotham? So Batman explains, "You said yourself the deposits in the bones were too old to be identified, and in the catacombs they are so old that no one can identify them." He digs around until he in fact does find a lab, and it is here that he finds the horrible truth. Dr. Death isn't doing this for revenge. The killings are a smokescreen. He is actually making a doomsday machine with a plan to take over the whole city. In just hours, he'll bring it to its knees. "Dr. Death, sir?" Alfred asks him. "No, Alfred. The man he's working for. Nigma! Nigma is behind all of this!" Then the computers come online. "That's right, Batman. You've been making quite an impression on the city, but I'm afraid I'm about to make a bigger one. Nigma, listen to me. Thousands could die." "That's my whole point, Batman. The world is dying. The seas are rising. Resources are dwindling, and the powerful are getting more so. We all feel it. We all know it. The only weapon against the tide is intelligence." Then a wall explodes, and gallons of water begin to pour in as Nigma continues. "Unfortunately for you, Detective, you weren't smart enough to cut it this time." The water begins to rush over Batman, carrying him away and burying him in the water and the bones that they wash up. But eventually, he breaks out. It didn't defeat him. Meanwhile, back on the surface, the storm is raging hard, and Gordon is trying to get people to safety when everyone sees a massive blimp break through the clouds. They ask who it is, and the response is simple. It's the goddamn Batman. "The Bat Blimp, sir. Really? Work with what you have, Alfred," Batman tells him, smirking. Lightning goes off around the blimp and it begins to damage it, but Batman has a goal, a giant weather balloon with a big question mark on it. The lightning takes on multiple engines on the Bat Blimp and his blimp begins to fall down to Earth, but Batman knows what he has to do. Alfred tells him no, it's too dangerous, but Batman tells him, "I can do this." He then leaps from the blimp, bridging the gap between it and the balloon so that he can fire his grappling gun. It lands on the balloon and he crawls up to it to come face to face with Dr. Death. Meanwhile, Gordon has tracked down Nigma to Philip Kane's old office, and as he walks in, he finds Nigma with a string tied around his finger. As he puts on his hat, he lets the string go. A giant rock falls down near Gordon, allowing the Riddler to make a grand escape. Back up on the balloon, Batman is battling with Dr. Death, telling him that he has to stop this balloon. If it goes off, thousands will die. "What about the millions that my work will save, Batman? What about them?" "He's using you, Death." Batman tries to tell him, but Batman sees the argument is pointless as he tries to use the jammer, but Dr. Death knocks it away, and it begins to slide on the ring towards the edge of the balloon. Batman shouts, "No!" and he manages to grab it, but Dr. Death grabs him. So Batman's had enough. He begins blocking all of Dr. Death's punches, breaking Death's arms and wrapping them around the railing so that he'll grow new bones, imprisoning himself. Batman then snaps off one of Death's new horns and walks into the control room, and he begins to tear it apart with the bone of Dr. Death. But Dr. Death is perfectly fine with broken bones, and he breaks his own bones to free himself. He then charges in, stabbing Batman in the chest. But Batman got an explosive on the computer console, so the whole thing explodes, throwing both Dr. Death and Batman back onto the walkway. Batman then watches as Dr. Death walks out, his newly formed bones finally killing him. Seeing no hope for the Doctor, Batman hits the ground, finally taking a breath. But beneath him in the city down below, the Gotham Electric and Power Company is finally getting the power back on, and the grid lights up as a question mark. Then twirling his cane and walking through the city, Riddler activates Riddle 2. Gordon calls up Batman, asking him if he was able to stop the device, and Batman walks in looking at it. "I almost have it. We just need to stall a little bit longer before they turn the power back on." But then it lights up with a question mark. "No, not yet!" The explosions go off all along the Gotham City Dam, and the water begins to pour in, flooding the streets. Cars, buses, and people are lifted up and carried off, and without power, the city will have no ability to pump and drain the subways. It will be flooded. Then, blimps begin to explode all over Gotham. Batman begins kicking and punching the computers. "I should have listened to you, Gordon. Damn it! There wouldn't be any death. I was wrong!" Gordon replies to him, "I hear you, but we were all at fault. We just realized it too late." As Batman watches the city streets flooding, Gordon remembers that night in the alley. The night that Bruce Wayne's parents died, and a young Bruce Wayne looked up. "Help!" Batman has failed twice against the Riddler, and the city is lost. Bruce wakes up slowly with no idea where he is. The last thing he remembers was the balloon he was on crash landing into the flooding streets of Gotham down below. He walks out into the main room of the house he's in and he sees a young boy, and he asks how long he's been out. The kid tells him that since the new year, it's a different kind of calendar year now. Go have a look. Bruce walks to the window to see a new kind of Gotham, one overgrown with plants, no power, and a big question mark in the middle. Welcome to the 0 year, Mr. Wayne. Or at least that's what Mr. Riddler calls it. Bruce calls up Alfred to let him know that he survived, and he explained that when the balloon hit the water, he dropped his suit and then remembers crawling away and passing out. Alfred explains that the city is lost. Riddler controls everything from an unknown location, and the city is overgrown because he stole some of Dr. Isley's rapid growing formula. He rigged all of the crossings off of the island with explosives, and he surrounded the city with chemical balloons threatening to detonate them if anyone tries to get into the city. Bruce asks if everyone tried to fight him, and Alfred explains that the first people did, but very few remain that will. Meanwhile, Gordon is waiting for a special ops team to land. They found a dark area in Riddler's communications, and they are parachuting 5 individuals in. Except it didn't work, and the drones begin to spy on them, and the Riddler asks, "Do you fellas have anything to say for yourselves?" The commander of the team pulls out a briefcase. "We aren't here to fight, we're here to resolve this. We brought you $50 million, untraceable, to end this." Gordon snaps, "You cowards, lying pieces of," and they hold him back. Riddler responds by asking them if they like dominoes, and then he hits a building at the edge of the city with a crane, toppling it over. It hits the building right next to it, which in turn hits the one next to that, right in line with the building that Gordon and the ops guys are on. To make matters worse, Riddler programmed the Riddler bots to open fire on them if they move, to ensure they don't get off the rooftop and they suffer. But he gives them one chance. They have enough time to get off one shot, and if they hit the right one, the others won't have their motion detectors anymore. The commander starts yelling for Gordon to shoot the one in front. It has to be the leader. But then Gordon snaps at him. "Nigma's the leader. They're robots. It's that simple." Batman shouts from the distance, "The eye! Shoot the eye, damn it! The camera drone! And then none of you move! Stay perfectly still!" Gordon takes the shot, shooting the drone and dropping it, and the robots all begin to shoot at each other until they blow up. Batman then launches an explosive to knock over a water tower, providing a bridge for everyone to get off of the building, and they all flee just as it gets crushed by the nearby building. He walks over to Gordon with a smile, and Gordon welcomes Batman back. Gordon brings Batman and the ops troops back to his hideout with Lucius Fox, and they all go over the plan. Riddler challenges everyone to give him a riddle every day. If he can't solve it, the city is free, but if he can, he drops them into a pit. The big issue is that the Riddler has complete control over the city, and they need to find out where he is and where he's doing it from inside the city. If they can get him to leave his signal on the television long enough, Lucius can track it back to him, and once they know where his signal is coming from, they can move on it. So Batman tells them, "Set it up. I'll keep Nigma on the line long enough." The next day, Riddler pops up on a screen asking if anyone will challenge him. It's day 27 of the 0 year after all. Batman rides up on his dirt bike with a big bat shield attached to the front of it, and he announces, "I'll challenge you, Edward." Everyone in the city looks on in shock. Is this the Batman that they've all heard about? "You've held this city in fear too long. Your so-called 0 year ends now, tonight." "All right, Batman, riddle away." While Batman was doing this, Gordon was climbing the tower that the TV was on so that he could set up the device while Riddler was distracted. He hooks it up and Lucius begins getting the signal. Now all they need to do is stall for 19 minutes. So Batman begins. "My riddle starts with a boy." The Riddler interrupts him. "A boy? Let me guess, he was standing in the middle of a village." And Batman interrupts him back. Now, Edward, if you want me to tell this riddle, you'll have to shut up and let me tell it." So Batman continues with the riddle, telling the tale of a boy that was so smart that no one would notice. The boy got fed up and eventually was standing in the center of the village, screaming, "Look at me!" embarrassing himself in a cheap hat. Riddler sees what Batman is doing though. The hat wasn't cheap, Batman, but you want to play therapist? So the Riddler deduces that Batman is ex-military, a discarded weapon of the military looking for a purpose. And Batman laughs. Haha, not even close. Riddler has had enough, and he presses the button, opening the floor beneath Batman, dropping him. Except, it doesn't even faze Batman. Instead, he taunts Nigma, telling him that he beat his mousetrap. So, Nigma sets lions loose on him. Batman is stalling for time, so he runs over to the car, cuts the fuel line, pours it into his mouth, and then he breathes fire in their direction, pushing the lions back. The fight continues as one of them chases him into the car. He then ties it up, escaping out of the busted windshield, and using his bat shield, he beats on the other lion, putting it down. Enough time passes that Lucius tracks the location of the signal, and then Riddler hits Batman with another riddle instead of being defeated. "Everyone's attracted to me, everyone falls for me. Eventually, even you, Batman. Who am I? Gravity." And then he drops cars down on Batman. But just as he's about to get smashed, Gordon opens up a nearby escape hatch and they escape together. So Gordon and the Spec Ops guys begin moving through the underground while Batman breaks into the building and moves towards the elevator shafts. As Gordon is going through the tunnel, the commander of the Spec Ops team explains that they just need to find Nigma so he can radio in an airstrike at that exact location. Batman overhears them talking about a RIP code, and that makes him realize Nigma isn't in this building. He tried to call everyone and tell them, but his comms are blocked as the Riddler bots and the Riddler on a screen tell Batman that he failed again. First in the catacombs, then in the balloon, and now he's hanging here by a thread at the mercy of Nigma. Batman throws explosives at the bots and then he jumps onto the floor trying to call Gordon to tell him to cut off the comms, but it's not working. Riddler is jamming the comms. So Batman grabs one of the Riddler bots and he jumps out the window, falling to the ground far below them until he grabs a drone to slow his fall. Meanwhile, back in Lucius's van, a Riddler bot arrives and threatens to kill him until Batman tears it in two. The problem is, Nigma just cut off all communications in the city, so they can't call Gordon or the Spec Ops team. And if they radio in the rip code, Nigma's going to get it and he'll get to call it in. And Nigma's lined the tunnels with explosives, so that when they activate the rip code, Nigma will steer it towards those explosives, sinking the city. Since they can't stop Gordon or the Spec Ops team in time, Batman and Lucius need to go over the data again. They need to try and figure out where the Riddler is, and Batman only has time for one guess. He figures he has 40 minutes before the bombing, and he heads off to his single guess. He leaves a message for Alfred, letting him know that he's right. Batman needs to mean something good. He's already failed against the Riddler twice, and he's trying again. But maybe that's what Batman needs to stand for. Not winning, but failing and getting back up. Knowing that he'll fail 1,000 times and refusing to give up. He walks into the dark bay and demands to know if he's right. Did he figure it out? Is the Riddler here? And in front of Batman is the Sphinx from the museum, and the Riddler steps out, clapping for the Dark Knight. How? The pattern bounced like a coil, like an Egyptian board game, so the answer has been here all along. Now turn it off, Nigma, before millions die. Ha, because you say so? So he activates a series of lights and trip lasers. The real game is just beginning. He tells Batman that he's going to ask him 12 questions, and if Batman answers them all, he'll turn off the communications blackout. Batman knows that the game is rigged though, that's too many questions to answer before the planes bomb the city. And if he sets off a trip laser, it'll set off the balloons around the city. But the Riddler continues with, "Riddle me this, Batman." Meanwhile, Gordon, Lucius, and the Commander are trying to figure out how to signal those planes to stop. The answer has to be simple, so Gordon gets a flare gun and he intends to climb to the highest point to signal them. Riddle 1. I am a house without the head of head knitted deep within the trees, a head that lies without its eyes stitched silently to tease. What am I, Batman? Batman looks at the Riddler bots next to him, and he can see their motion tracking, and he answers, a louse. The answer is correct, and he steps forward with 14 minutes remaining. Gordon begins to climb the tower nearby, but as he climbs, he drops the flare gun. Riddle 2. I have a single choice, 1,000 throats. I sell my tail for peanuts, but then a bee. Batman cuts him off with the answer. Gordon makes it to the top, and he can see the jets coming in for the bombing, so he starts looking for a way to signal them. Riddle 3. My greatest strength is that I know my worth. I hug myself so tightly at every birth. A blade. But Batman got it wrong. Then he begins to step forward, setting off all of the trip lasers, walking towards Nigma as he tries to gloat, because the motion tracking isn't tracking him. Riddler's signal is being blocked by Lucius, sitting outside with a giant penny as a conductor. The same penny from the front of Wayne Enterprises. While Batman grabs the Riddler, Gordon found a way to signal the planes to stop. He painted a bat signal onto a spotlight, and he's shining it at them. So they take another lap to see what they should do. Batman keeps hitting the Riddler, and he demands to know how to turn the city back on. How does he end Zero Year? So the Riddler shows him an electrode on his chest tied to his heartbeat. The only way to reset the city is to hit someone's heartbeat with 1,000 volts of electricity. The Riddler doesn't believe even Batman can survive that. Batman takes it off of Riddler's chest and he kicks him in the face, knocking him out. While this has been going on, the planes have been told to continue with their bombing. Ignore this signal. Batman walks over to the computers and using a defibrillator, he shocks himself with the full 1,000 volts. He hits the ground as the computer is still reading. No signal, no signal. And then he wakes back up to Alfred giving him chest compressions. It worked. The city turned back on. The jets reported in, and they head back home. Everyone across Gotham is cheering because Batman did it. He saved the city. Batman asks Alfred how he was even here, and Alfred explains that he was already in the city. He followed Lucius to this location because, as he told Batman, he might not agree with him, but he'll always be there to patch him up. The city was saved by Batman, and they got to work quickly making Gotham a happy place again. Riddler was one of the first inmates in the new Arkham Asylum facility, where he was bound and suspended to prevent him from doing anything else. And in the end of it all, Bruce went back to work at Wayne Enterprises, taking control of his company. Well, Gotham is failing, and the Gotham Gazette is just filled with adjectives to explain how far Gotham has gone. But there will always be one man who stands in the way of it falling to the very bottom, and he always will. He is Batman, and he's defeated the villains of Gotham more times than anyone can count. He has done it for so often that it has become routine for Batman and his Robins. While they're keeping it safe, Bruce Wayne keeps the city safe by rebuilding, continually inventing, and using his Bruce Wayne money to get the city back on track. And Batman, he keeps it safe at night by taking out any enemy that may threaten that. But what if the enemy that Batman was trying to track down was also trying to kill Bruce Wayne? Batman arrives at the murder scene and he takes some skin cells from beneath the victim's fingernails, hoping that this would be a short case. But they come back and he knows this is going to be an all-night long case. The skin beneath the fingernails is Dick Grayson. Batman then uses his holographic technology to view the body that is in the city morgue, and he calls up Dick Grayson to try and figure out what's going on. But Dick Grayson has an actual reasonable explanation for this. He explains that a week ago, this guy grabbed his arm scratching him and warned him that they were all coming for all of you. Nightwing says that he wrote it off as a religious zealot, and with nothing to go on, Batman has to stand there and wait for the assassin that is apparently going to come and kill him as Bruce Wayne in 12 hours. Not one to shy away from his responsibilities, Bruce Wayne meets up with a friend of his named Lincoln, who's running for mayor. They have a discussion in which Lincoln tries to convince Bruce to give him his future vote in the upcoming election. And when Bruce can't decide right then and there, Lincoln mentions something very interesting: that Bruce may need some allies in the upcoming months. There's an evil returning to Gotham, an evil older than anything, and Bruce will need allies against them. Bruce turns to Lincoln, shocked by what he's talking about, when the elevator opens and out steps Bruce's assassin. He immediately stabs Lincoln in the chest, and then he turns his attention to Bruce Wayne, and Bruce jumps right in. Though he has to hold back since he doesn't know who may be watching, and he doesn't want them to put two and two together and figure out that he's secretly Batman. The fight goes on for a second, but nothing that Bruce does works, even an attempt at crushing the assassin's windpipe. There must be something else going on here. And after telling him the Court of Owls has sentenced Bruce Wayne to die, Bruce gets kicked out of the window of one of the tallest towers in Gotham, the Old Wayne Tower. Now, the Old Wayne Tower consists of multiple rings built by his family, and each ring contains a gargoyle that will welcome individuals to Gotham through land and sea, facing the bridges of Gotham. Bruce's family has been building and rebuilding Gotham for decades, and this tower is a testament to what they've built. But it is also one of the tallest buildings, and there's no way that Bruce can save himself. And the assassin knows this, as he knows Gotham. But most people, including the assassin, aren't aware of the 13th gargoyle, the one that Bruce's great-grandfather built to welcome people by air. The one that is just high enough for Bruce to grab onto while the assassin plummets to his death. No one knows Gotham better than Bruce Wayne, but why did this assassin say that he was happy to kill another Wayne? And who the hell is the Court of Owls? There's nothing that Bruce Wayne doesn't know about Gotham. And how did the assassin just get up from that fall and take over the ambulance? Batman begins to go through all of the low-level thugs in Gotham trying to figure out who this assassin is. Who is the man dressed like an owl? While at the Batcave trying to figure out what's going on, Batman explains to Alfred that he just can't figure out who this guy is, and that this guy is trying to get Bruce to believe in the old folk song, The Court of the Owls. Now, since he said that he wanted to kill another Wayne, Bruce and Alfred decide to go through the Wayne family history to try and figure out who may have died suspiciously. And they can't find anybody, other than maybe his great-grandfather Alan Wayne, who said that the owls were out to get him and he died by falling into a manhole cover. Bruce then goes back to visit with Lincoln to find out what he meant by the evil is returning to Gotham, and Lincoln tells him that somebody has been watching him. He woke up one morning to find an owl standing over a pile of bones. Lincoln thinks that something has returned to Gotham, and is finally taking notice of what Lincoln and Bruce are doing in their rebuilding attempts of Gotham. Well, Bruce realizes that his friend is becoming very superstitious of an old folklore tale known as the Court of the Owls. And his great-grandfather was afraid of owls, and he starts to realize, what would be the best place for an assassin to hide? Well, right beneath your feet. And Alan Wayne, he was so superstitious that he had the 13th floor of the Old Wayne Tower sealed off to prevent the bad luck from getting out. But wouldn't that be a good place for an owl to nest? Or an assassin to hide out? Batman goes to the Old Wayne Tower, and he blows a hole in the 14th floor to get into that little 13th floor pocket, and he discovers the assassin's hideout. He finds an odd and old-looking picture of people in owl masks, and then he calls Alfred. He needs to know all of the buildings that are in Alan Wayne's trust that he's been building with that trust so that he can go inspect all of their 13th floor. And what he discovers is that each 13th floor in the 20-something buildings in the Alan Wayne Building Trust is an owl's nest, an assassin's den, a home for the Court of Owls. And in the most recent, he finds proof, a new photo with a new group of men in masks and a new assassin. The Court of Owls must live, and then the building blows up. Batman dodges the falling rubble and quickly gets out of the whole building as it comes down around him. With that, Bruce Wayne pulls up the body of Alan Wayne, the last Wayne to claim that he was being chased by owls to see if his corpse can tell a tale. Did he die by falling in the sewer manhole that the coroner's report stated? Or perhaps it was the 50 stab wounds that Bruce found on his body that had something to do with it. Using this as his latest lead, Bruce jumps down into Gotham sewers and he continues his investigation. He will figure out who's masquerading as the Court of Owls because he refuses to believe that they are alive. He refuses to believe that there is something that has been operating in Gotham City this whole time and he didn't know about it. Batman begins to poke around where Alan's body was found in the sewers, just looking, trying to find something to work off of, when our owl assassin breaks through the wall, grabbing Batman and dragging him down while removing his utility belt. Batman looks up and he realizes that he's not in the sewers anymore, and the TV screen over his head displays 3 people in owl masks stating, "Welcome to the Labyrinth, Batman." A week goes by, and no Batman answers the bat signal. Harvey Dent is beginning to wonder if maybe Batman is dead. The whole Bat family is off looking for him, and the bat signal will continue to shine as a beacon that they know Batman is out there. But where is Batman? It's not like him to not return. Batman is still in the labyrinth. It's been a week and he's had no food and no water, and his only source of water is from an owl fountain of water, and he can't trust that source. He's starting to become delusional, paranoid, and he doesn't know what to do, because he can't find his way out. He does come across photos of every man that they have killed in this labyrinth over the years, hundreds upon hundreds of them, and a camera. But he won't become the next victim. He continues exploring the labyrinth until he sees them. The Court of Owls is right there. But they're not. He's hallucinating. But this is Batman. He will find another way out. He will find the Court of Owls. Their tricks won't work on him. He invented the tricks. He goes deeper and deeper until he comes across some coffins with the photos of children on them. It's a story they're telling me, he tells himself. They're trying to tell me their story. And then he goes back to the room with the photos on the walls, only now it has his photo on the wall. A little farther in, he comes across an elderly couple. It couldn't be. Are they his parents? He can't believe it. How can they be here? And he runs over to embrace them. But then they change into a screeching owl and they attack him. What's going on? Is Batman losing his mind? It's the perfect time for the assassin to strike. And he does, stabbing Batman in the back. Time continues to pass in the real world though, and the harsh truth is coming to everyone. Batman may not return. When the bat signal finally burns out, Damian pleads, "Please, Commissioner Gordon, get a new one. Now. Please." Back down below, Batman falls to the ground bleeding out, and the assassin explains, "Your body will be kept here as a trophy for the defeat of a valiant enemy. It is an honor, and there have only been 3 times before this that the Court of Owl has turned their victims into trophies. Do you have anything to say to this honor?" And Batman drags himself towards the assassin and notes the ground, and he says, "You moved the camera." The assassin picks up Batman's body and says, "Fine, no final address. I present to you Batman. How do you wish him to die?" As he holds Batman up to the Court of the Owls, and the court wishes him to be beat to death. So the assassin complies by punching Batman through a wall. Batman is defeated. He has no strength to go on. But then Batman sees it. A photo of Alan Wayne at the end of his life, after their torture. A photo of Alan Wayne begging, and Batman will not go down that way. He gets back up to fight and he exclaims, "I'm sick to death of owls!" And the assassin exclaims, "You dare!" And Batman replies, "Oh, I do." Batman gets his second win and he beats the tar out of the assassin, telling him, "You're nothing special. You're nothing more than a hired thug." He then goes back to the room with the fountain in it and he says, "You can't beat me. I am Gotham. Gotham is my city." And he tells them, "I took the potassium chloride from the camera that you kept moving, and it explodes real nice with the marble that you've made your fountain out of." And with that, he blows a hole in the floor and says, "I'll be back for all of you." The court then walks out as Batman leaves and sees their badly beaten assassin, and they ask, what should we do with him? While they could just heal him, they decide to dispose of this assassin, because there are so many more that they can wake up. Batman crawls back to the entrance of the Batcave, to be found by a panicked Alfred. He picks up Bruce and he brings him inside. And then Bruce sees something that causes just nothing but sheer fear in his eyes, and he screams, "No!" Because in front of him, it's the assassin once again. But Alfred explains that they found his body this morning and they brought him here, and he's very dead right now. Bruce begins to test the body to see how this man survived so much, and with Nightwing's help, they discover that there's a compound that the Court of Owls uses to reanimate the dead and then turn them into unstoppable assassins and put them back to sleep when needed. And this assassin, he's Nightwing's great-grandfather. Bruce explains that it was Haley's circus that was supplying the assassins for each generation, and if he hadn't taken in Nightwing, Nightwing would have been the next assassin. But this isn't where our story ends. No, it's far from it. While Batman may now know how the Court of Owls operates and where their labyrinth is, the court was prepared for this, and they're tired of hanging back in the shadows, and they won't be disappearing for decades again. This time, they're here to stay. And they want Gotham back. They want their kingdom back right now. And so begins the Night of the Owls. The Talons break into Wayne Manor and they begin to attack Bruce in his very home. But it's not just one of the Talons this time, they've awakened all of the Talons. Bruce begins to fight off multiple Talons at the same time, and he calls to Alfred, who's down in the Batcave, to give him their position so he can be better prepared. But Alfred, he has his own problems because the Talons are also breaking into the Batcave. But an interesting thing to note is that the Talons weren't even aware that there was a Batcave down here. Bruce begins to fight off as many as he can, and he rushes downstairs into the Batcave so that he can help Alfred, and the two men run into the Bat Armory so they can shut the doors and lock themselves inside. While Bruce tries to figure out what's going on, he hands a microdrive that he acquired from one of the Talons during their fight to Alfred. Alfred begins to dig into the microdrive, and he discovers that the Talons aren't there for Batman. They're here to kill Bruce Wayne, and they're also going to be going around all of Gotham to kill anybody in power and anybody who has money. All of the heads of Gotham is their target. Batman begins to come up with a plan so that he can take down the army of Talons that are fighting his home. First, he puts on his ultimate Batman armor, and then he lowers the temperature of the cave in hopes of freezing the Talons in place. Alfred then puts a word out to everyone in the Bat family. He tells them, the Talons are going after anybody with power and money, and there's a total of over 40 targets that we need to protect tonight. Good luck to all of you. The entire Bat family takes some of the names and they set off to protect the people, while Batman is still in the supersuit, attacking the ones that invaded his very home. But there's just too many Talons, and with the temperature dropping, he begins to flatline. His vitals are failing. But there's one thing that the Court of the Owls has forgotten. This is the Batcave, and as the temperature of the cave drops, the bats come out of the deepest parts of the cave in full force. Batman takes this opportunity to take out the remaining Talons, and they all slip into a hyper-frozen state. Except for one of them that is escaping. And not only that, but Bruce needs to get into the city so that he can fend off an army of Talons who are trying to kill everyone in Gotham. Well, this seems like a simple fix that doesn't even take a detective to fix. He'll just create some owl roadkill and get to work saving Gotham. He goes over the list and the allies of the Bat are already protecting some of these people, but sadly, most have already been killed. There are only 2 people that have not been killed and are not protected. Batman needs to save them. Jeremiah Arkham and Lincoln March. It's time for Batman to head to Arkham Asylum. But while Batman is busy heading off to save Arkham Asylum from the Talons and itself, the rest of the Bat family is busy. The Birds of Prey are busy fighting off against the first of the Talons, who are trying to kill Street Vermin, as he puts it. And they manage to take him out. Robin heads off a Talon who is trying to kill an army general, and he decapitates him. Batwing mutilates a Talon as it tries to kill Lucius Fox. Nightwing stabs a Talon in the heart, and then he proceeds to fight off the revived William Cobb, who mocks him by calling Nightwing nothing more than a waste of a descendant, as Cobb was his great-grandfather. Batgirl fights against Mary, a female Talon who's trying to change the bat signal into an owl signal. And during all of this, Red Hood and the Outlaws fight against the Talons who kidnapped Mr. Freeze, You see, Red Hood wants to fight Mr. Freeze, so it's time to have a heart-to-heart with these Talons. Catwoman, Spark, and the Penguin all end up teaming up, and they fight against their own Talon towards the end of the night. But while all of this is going on, Batman manages to get to Arkham Asylum and rescue Jeremiah Arkham. He then drops him off with Nightwing, who agrees to take him off his hands so that Batman can head off to save Lincoln March. So, Batman then headed off to save Lincoln March, the politician that warned Bruce back in the Court of the Owls before all of this began, and he's one of Bruce's oldest friends from his early days in politics. But Batman was too late, and March was stabbed in the chest. As he was dying, he handed a note to Batman and said, "Bring this to Bruce." And the note states, "Don't give up on this city. This city can be saved." And Batman takes that to heart. He can still save Gotham. The first thing he does is drive a scare tactic into Mrs. Powers, one of the high-ranking officials who's on the Court of the Owls. He wants to know where Joseph is. Where is the leader of the Court of Owls? She dials her husband, and Batman manages to track the signal down to the Harbor House, the house that he as a child thought that the Owls were in. But he was wrong. They weren't here. And if they are now, and he was right as a child, does this mean that the Owls actually killed his parents? No time to think about that now as he kicks in the door, prepared for a mighty fight with the entire court. Except, they're all dead. All of them. Even their supposed leader, Joseph. They all seem to have drank poison with their wine. What an anticlimactic ending. Bruce heads home and he sits in his chair, thinking about all of this. Why did the court kill themselves? It makes no sense. And why were they at the Harbor House? Does this mean that they were using this place when Bruce was a child? Does this mean that they were involved in his parents' murder? Does this mean that they were there when Bruce was a child? You see, when Bruce was a child, he was trying to find meaning, a whole reason to why his parents were killed. And he decided to investigate the theory of the Court of Owls. He thought that the Court of Owls could have caused his parents' death. He thought that they could have hired an assassin to take out his parents. So he tracked them down to the Harbor House. But he was wrong. There was nobody at the Harbor House. But like I said earlier, if they're using it now, were they using it when he was a child? So many questions with no answers. But wait, Batman just figured it all out. He figured out the last remaining person who has all of the answers. He quickly heads to the morgue to verify if his hunch was correct, and he just finds a note. "Follow me down the rabbit hole." Batman quickly heads to the only sinkhole in Gotham, where he meets up with Lincoln March. Lincoln explains that he was working for the Court of Owls, and he saw their truth. He saw what they really were that day that they attacked Bruce and Lincoln. He also saw that Bruce is Batman that day, and he put it all together. But he wants Bruce to explain. How did Bruce figure all of this out? Bruce explains that it was the pin that Lincoln said that his mother wore before he was an orphan. Well, that pin isn't really real, because that pin was Bruce's own mother's pin. She wore it when they did the painting that hung in Bruce Wayne's hall. So Lincoln's mother couldn't have had it. Lincoln March is nothing more than a front created by the Court of Owls to be placed in a position of political power. But Lincoln laughs. That pin does belong to his mother. That pin was given to mothers who placed their children in this orphanage. And his mother's name was Martha Wayne. Lincoln's real name is Thomas Wayne Jr., and he is Bruce Wayne's brother. He was born early, and the Waynes placed him in this orphanage to heal up. But Batman, he tells him that he's insane. The Court of Owls gave him that story, and it can't be true. His parents would never do that. The two men begin to fight it out, with Lincoln going on about how it's a story as old as time. Two brothers, one rich, one poor, and the rich one forgetting his kin. Batman appears to have the upper hand, but unlike the other Talon suits, Lincoln's can fly. And the two men continue to go at it, flying around Gotham City, as Lincoln explains why he is Thomas Wayne, what was expected of him from the Court of Owls. You see, when Bruce vanished to go train in the mountains all those years ago, the court raised and trained Lincoln March as Thomas Wayne Jr. to take the spotlight, to take over the family name and run the city for the court. But when Bruce returned, they created the persona of Lincoln March, and they set up the life that Lincoln ended up living now. They did this because of Bruce's return. The Wayne family had too much spotlight on it. Batman and Lincoln's fight takes them to the top of Wayne Tower, where Lincoln continues his evil villain monologue, while the entire tower begins to explode and be destroyed. With the building exploding around him, Batman manages to resist long enough to break Lincoln's mask and blind him temporarily so that he can get away from the entire tower. There was no body found, and Batman just went home to ponder everything that he had learned. Dick Grayson came by in the days that followed, and Bruce explained. First off, while many of the court's heads were killed either by themselves drinking poison or by Lincoln March tricking them, there were many more for Batman to find, and there's also a series of remaining Talons out there in the city. Also, there was another Wayne child. When Bruce was 3, there was a car accident, and the child that Martha Wayne was pregnant with was born prematurely. The child was expected to have brain damage and would remain in a vegetative state. After 12 hours, the child supposedly died in the hospital. But within hours of the child's death, a child was admitted to the Willowwood Orphanage, the one that Lincoln March grew up in. Martha Wayne was then documented as visiting the orphanage frequently, but there is a chance that her visits and the pin that she wore are both linked to the many charities that she funded. Bruce doesn't believe that his parents would have done something so heinous, but without Lincoln March's DNA, he can't be positive. Dick Grayson asks him if he'll be okay not knowing, and Bruce tells him that he'll solve this mystery eventually. But in the meantime, he's gonna rebuild Wayne Tower, bigger, taller, because Gotham isn't Batman. Gotham isn't the Owls. Gotham is everyone. And Dick Grayson simply chuckles. And it's a little Batman too. Come on. Harley Quinn looks around the room, which is illuminated by a single light bulb, calling out into the darkness, asking if the Joker's even there. No one's seen him in a year, not since he cut his own face off in Arkham Asylum. She looks around confused. He asked her to come to this place, but it's dark and it looks like no one's here. "What do you want me to do, Mr. J?" she asks nervously. Something isn't quite right about him. He calls out from the darkness, asking her to take off all of her clothes. And she does as she's asked, stripping down to nothing. And then she waits. He hands her a suit and some platform shoes. And as she puts them on, she realizes that she's going to be about the Joker's height and appear to be about his build. "Mr. J, I'm gonna look just like you." And he steps out of the shadows and exclaims, "That's the point! Just like me." But there's one thing wrong. Your pretty face spoils the reflection. I'll need to remove it like my own. And she asks him nervously once again, "Will it hurt?" Only to have him tell her, "Oh yes, tremendously! You'll never experience a worse pain in your life, but the worst part is the eyes. Your eyeballs will dry out without their eyelids, and you'll always need to keep some eye drops handy. But don't worry, at first it's gonna be fine since the blood will keep your eyelids moist for a while." She panics and screams, "No, I don't want to do it!" But the Joker moves too quickly, and before she can react, she sees red. But it didn't hurt. He put the Red Hood's helmet on her. He has plans for her. Got her good, didn't he? Commissioner Gordon walked into the police station like he would for any day. He got his coffee and his donuts, and he was discussing the latest cases with his fellow police officers. When he looked at the end of a hallway, and he sees a man that he slightly recognizes. All of the lights go out, and everyone realizes that the Joker is in the room. But as the sound of a hammer thuds against skulls, and bodies begin to hit the floor, no one knows what to do. No one knows how to react. Shots are fired, but don't seem to hit a mark. And eventually, the lights are turned back on, and there stands Batman over Gordon. "Where is he, Jim?" But Gordon looks at Batman and he says he's gone, and he told a joke. Oh God, Batman, he told a joke. Batman returns to the Batcave just in time to see the television come on. A man in Joker face paint is reading a teleprompter. He announces to Gotham, "The Joker's back! He was gone for a little while, but he has returned, and he will kill the mayor." And then the Joker shoots the man dead on live television. The Bat family calls in trying to tell Batman that they can help him. They can help him find the Joker. But he simply tells them, it's fine, he has this. It's between him and the Joker. Batman sets up the police force in the mayor's office, and they seal every entrance and ensure that no one gets in or out. Everything seems to be going just fine. until everyone inside of the building begins to vomit and die. The entire police force trying to guard the mayor suddenly falls over and dies right in front of Batman, all with a twisted and demented frown on their faces, not the usual smile that the Joker goes for. After sampling the toxin, Batman realizes that the Joker is pointing him back to where it all started, the Ace Chemicals factory, and once he gets there, he only finds a person and the Red Hood outfit. "You're not Joker," he exclaims, and he jumps at the Red Hood. But the person in the Red Hood outfit exclaims, "It is here that you helped me remove my false skin to become the man you know me as, the Joker. But once again, you're too slow. You were too slow to save the policeman, too slow to save the mayor's men, and you're too slow to play with me. You've grown fat and soft, Batman. You can't even keep a bunch of old birds from roosting in your city and trying to take control. Your kingdom is rotting beneath you, Batman, and it's causing you to frown. Don't worry, I'm here to save you, to help you focus. I will save you from your allies, your friends, the ones making you slow." And Batman reaches over and pulls off the Red Hood mask to find Harley Quinn standing there with tears in her eyes. "Where is he, Harley?" Batman asks, and through the tears, she tells him, "He's not the same anymore, Bats. He's not my Mr. J anymore." "Tell me where he is, Harley," Batman screams. But as he's standing there screaming at her for the location, the Joker actually isn't too hard to find. He's currently at the Wayne family door, taking a swing at Alfred Pennyworth. Back at the chemical factory, Harley manages to get away by dumping chemicals on Batman, which stall him long enough for her to vanish. He stumbles out confused, and he heads straight back to the Batcave when he can't find Harley Quinn. This isn't right. What's the Joker's game? Why stall Batman? Why dress up Harley and remind him of their first meeting? He sends out a warning to the entire Bat family. Be on your guard. Joker is out there and he's targeting you individually. As he ponders what the Joker is doing, he walks around Wayne Manor, looking for Alfred. But oddly, he can't find him anywhere. After much searching, all he can find is a package with a cassette tape. And Batman plays that cassette tape, and to his horror, he listens as the Joker tortures Alfred. No. How could Batman be so stupid? How could he have let this happen? The Joker tells Batman in the tape that he was making a celebration, and he's gonna need someone proper to serve it. Bruce Wayne's butler seems like a prime person for this job. And while standing there lost in his own thoughts of how he lost Alfred, he looks down at the cassette tape, and he realizes that it's marked Gordon. He quickly gets over to Jim Gordon's house to warn him and ask him to join him in the Batman safe house. But Jim Gordon says no. He won't run from the Joker. The Joker took too much from him, and he hurt him too much. He needs to bring the Joker in. But as he says this, he's looking down at a photograph from one of the most horrific days in his life. The day when his daughter was shot in the stomach and he was tortured by the Joker. But as he's standing there looking at this, blood begins to pour out of the very pores in his skin. Batman cringes as he catches Gordon, and he hurries him to the hospital. After a little time passes, Batman sits down with Nightwing to explain what's going on. The Joker is attacking the family, the people who know Batman or are willing to help Batman. He explains that Alfred's been kidnapped because he was Bruce Wayne's butler, and Bruce Wayne funds Batman Incorporated, and that Jim Gordon was also a known ally of Batman and Joker attacked him. He also doesn't want Nightwing to tell the rest of the Bat family about Alfred because he's worried that they're all gonna lose their cool. But when Nightwing asks Batman how he could even consider the rest of the family losing their cool, he tells Nightwing that he's barely keeping it together himself. Alfred was like a father figure to him and he's missing. But don't worry, because he's gonna be able to stop the Joker soon. Because using his detective skills, he figured out that the Joker is going through all of their past meetings and past locations. So if he continues with this pattern, he'll eventually end up at the water reservoir. Nightwing tells Batman to let him go with him, but Batman tells him, no, he'll handle this alone. And Batman was spot on. The Joker is waiting for him at the water reservoir. Batman looks right at the Joker and he says, "What is this all about, Joker? Where's Pennyworth?" Joker just lets out a laugh. "Always right to business, Bats. Not even a battering to the head? Well, don't worry about it. I took care of everything." And Batman just looks at him questioningly. "What do you mean?" "Well, you see, we would argue, then you would throw a battering, then I would press a button, we'd go boom. The poison would get into the water. Then you'd save the day in the city, but I'd end up getting a few people with my poison. The unlucky few who went to their water before you were able to save them. Well, I went ahead and skipped all of that. I just went ahead and killed everyone, and they're all right in the water already. Just look down, bats. Below Batman in the water are dead bodies, all weighted down with cement blocks. But before Batman can do anything else, the Joker wraps him up in a trap. The Joker then continues. I'm gonna save you, Batman, because you've gotten so weak you couldn't even stop a few owls without your allies' help. And since I've learned all of your secret identities and I know who all of you are, I'm gonna remove your weaknesses for you, Batman. So Batman ignites his gloves on fire and he charges at the Joker, grabbing him by the throat. And he demands that the Joker end this now. It's over. But the Joker's toxin was on his skin. And now Batman is paralyzed while the Joker simply walks away after kicking Batman into the water down below. He awakens back in the Batcave, saved by Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, Damian Wayne, and Barbara Gordon. Or Nightwing, Red Robin, Red Hood, Robin, and Batgirl. Maybe you know them better that way. And they want to know what's going on. How does the Joker know who they all are? And why didn't Bruce tell them about Alfred being kidnapped? Well, Bruce explains that he didn't want them to get emotional about Alfred, so he kept it to himself. And no, there's no way that the Joker can know who all of them are. But Nightwing tells him, "What are you hiding, Bruce? I can tell." So Bruce explains that there is one thing that he has in the back of his mind, one thing that he's worried about. Back when he started being Batman, his next meeting with the Joker after the reservoir was on a blimp that was spreading poison over the city. Well, once Batman stopped the Joker and the blimp crashed into the bay, he would spend the next few hours looking to get the blimp out of the bay before it could poison anyone. He then spent the next few hours after that looking for the Joker, but he couldn't find him, so eventually he went angrily back to the Batcave. He was so furious that he lost the Joker that he went to bed that night without even checking any of his safeguards. And the next morning, he found a Joker card on the Batboat. All of the Bat family was in shock. Does this mean that the Joker got into the Batcave? And if he was able to figure out Bruce Wayne through a simple amount of math, he could easily figure out the identities of everyone that Bruce Wayne has been associated with, so he could easily figure out the identities of the entire Bat family. So of course, he may know who everyone is. But Batman shrugs it off and says no. In order to have gotten into the Batcave that night, he would have had to have bypassed the Batboat's sensors, hold his breath for about 5 miles, hold on to the Batboat at 50 miles an hour, and then avoid all of the Batcave's sensors that even existed back then. Batman says that no one could have even done that, not even himself. But everyone else isn't so sure. Nightwing looks at Batman and he says, "Batman, the Joker has done the impossible before, and you should have at least told us about the card." Batman walks away from them and says they're done talking. He's gonna follow up on a lead he has, and he leaves the Batcave. And the Bat family are there wondering why he still hasn't asked for help. His lead was to follow one of the henchmen that worked with the Joker that day on the Reservoir Bridge, and as it turns out, the henchman was one of the guards at Arkham Asylum. Joker has the entire staff from Arkham hostage, and he controls the entire facility right now. The nightmare that is the Joker is about to be even worse for Batman. So Batman heads over to Arkham Asylum and he enters it, and he sees how horrific the Joker has turned this place of healing into. In the first room, Batman sees the guards and the staff dancing in Batman and Joker costumes, all around him. And they're exclaiming, "Please help us, Batman, we've been dancing for days." Joker exclaims, "Welcome to your kingdom! This is your royal court!" And Batman deactivates the electrical pulses going to their feet before the Joker can kill all of them. And then he walks into the next room by cutting through the stables, where a flaming horse charges at him. Batman simply rolls out of the way and he walks into a darkened room where the lights come on one by one. And the Joker exclaims, "Welcome to your royal knights, Batman!" Well, being that they're normal henchmen that were locked up in Arkham, Batman disposes of them easily, and he moves on to the next room, where the Joker doesn't waste a moment before explaining that this is the room that holds the royal tapestry. On the wall, Batman can see bodies sewn together and tattooed to display the greatest fights between Joker and the Batman. As he leaves the room, the bodies on the wall begin to talk, and they say, "Hail the Bat King!" Next, Batman faces off and disposes of his groundskeeper, Mr. Freeze, his royal player, Clayface, and his royal physician, Scarecrow. And finally, He gets to the top of Arkham Asylum, where he finds the Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, and Riddler all waiting for him, and the royal court, led by the royal jester, Joker. He also sees that the rest of the Arkham staff is dressed up like the Justice League, individuals that the Joker intends to torture. Batman rushes in to stop them, but the Joker lowers a few bars in his way to keep him from getting to them. But it doesn't matter. Batman cut the power to their little room. They're locked in there, and there's no power to raise the bars. He's won, hasn't he? But the Joker simply says, "Look to your left, Bats." And on the screen to the left, Batman sees the defeat of Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Red Robin, and Damian Wayne, his own son. Joker now has everyone captive, and he looks at Batman and he says, "Now sit on your throne!" Not seeing any other option, Batman restores the power, and he walks up the steps, and he takes a seat on the throne, allowing the Joker to electrocute him. He slowly wakes up, blinking his eyes, and he finds himself bound to a chair. And in front of him are Nightwing, Red Robin, Damian, Red Hood, and Batgirl, all at a table with bags over their heads. The Joker is also there, welcoming Batman to this sick and twisted dinner party. "What did you do, Joker?" Batman cries out as the Joker welcomes a servant to the table, someone to serve the meal to their guests. Alfred walks out from behind a wall in this cave, a big grin on his face, all Joker toxined up. And he removes the bags over everyone's head to reveal that their faces are covered in bloody bandages, and there's plates in front of all of the guests. All of the Bat family lets out a gasp as they picture what could possibly be on those plates, and Alfred slowly reveals what is being served to them. And everyone lets out a shocking gasp as they see their own faces have been cut off and they're lying on ice in front of them. The Joker lets out a cackle. He's won, and now everyone will die as he ignites the entire table on fire in hopes of severing what makes Batman weak. But Batman knows this place. It is the caves outside of the Batcave, and there's an underground supply of water above them. He quickly pulls the support beams, allowing the water to flow and put out the fire, and he runs over to Damian to make sure that his own son is okay. Slowly, he peels back the bandages, preparing for the worst, and Damian even says, "Tell me what's wrong. Tell me, I can take it." And Batman just smiles. It was all another sick joke from the Joker. Everyone's okay. Nightwing tells Batman to chase the Joker while they restrain Alfred and help him get over the Joker toxin. So Batman quickly takes off into the caves while everyone tries to gather their bearings. But the Joker planned for this, and a bomb containing Joker toxin goes off in the room, infecting everybody. Nightwing, Damian, Red Robin, Red Hood, and Batgirl are all now infected, and they're all about to go on a murderous rampage. Batman catches up to the Joker and he punches him so hard that he knocks loose the piece of skin that was once Joker's face. As he regains his composure, Joker says to Batman, "You better go back and save your family. They're all about to die, Bats." But he just hits the Joker again. "I have faith in them. They aren't gonna die." The Joker just scoffs and says, "You shouldn't do that. They bring you down. They make you weak." But Batman tells him, "No, they make me stronger." The Joker just eyeballs him and he gets angrier, and then he spits some acid in Batman's face to distract him, and he runs to the nearby cliffside so that he can jump off and commit suicide. Batman won't win, but Batman catches him at the last second, and he tells him, "I've been thinking about what you said, old friend, that we should end this once and for all, this game that we play. I did what you wouldn't do. Because this is the spot right here, isn't it? The spot where you fell off the Batboat all of those years ago? This is where you turned back, isn't it? Not because you couldn't hold on, but because you didn't want to know who I was. Well, I'm not like you, Joker, and during this year while you were away, I figured out who you are. Who you were before you were the Joker." And the Joker panics. Batman can see it in his eyes. "You're lying. You wouldn't use my own joke against me." But Batman continues, "Joker, I know your name, your history, your family, all of it. Come closer. I'll whisper it in your ear, darling." And Batman pulls him closer, and he whispers, "Joker, your real name is..." And the Joker screams, "Shut up!" and buzzes Batman in the face with a hand buzzer, forcing Batman to drop him down the waterfall. As the Joker falls, his face comes off finally, and it falls in the deep water down below. So, did the Bat family pull through the Joker toxin? Are they okay? Well, Batman was right. They came together and they pushed through it. But the damage was done. The family doesn't trust Bruce anymore. And when he tried to get them all together so they can discuss the events, one by one they texted and they canceled on him. No one trusts Batman anymore. He kept a potential reveal of their identity secret. He kept Alfred's secret, and he refused to allow them to even help him, leading to each of them being caught. Bruce goes down into the Batcave where he passes a computer screen which states Batman in fact did not know the Joker's name. And he looks at the chemical compound that was in the Joker toxin. The chemical compound of... Ha! Batman is joking with Alfred Pennyworth and Penny too when suddenly, Wonder Woman comes crashing through the window, slamming Bruce into the wall. With him disoriented, she grabs him by the shirt and she takes for the skies, telling him to not even talk. She won't be listening. He reaches into his pockets and he pulls out something to mess with her head, forcing her to drop him, and he falls into the park down below. As she lands next to him, he looks up. What the hell is going on? And she looks down at him coldly. It's simple, Bruce. The League is here to do something we've wanted to do for a long time. Kill you. A panicked look hits Bruce's face as he calls back to the Batcave and scurries away. Alfred, release Plan Fenrir! Release the suit! We don't see him get into the suit, nor does it matter, because Batman is suited up to battle against the Justice League. Welcome to Gotham, he shouts at Diana as he puts her into a wall. But folks, this is Wonder Woman, and she leaps onto the suit, tearing off an arm and stabbing Batman through the suit. As Batman bleeds out on the street, he asks, why? And Wonder Woman just stands triumphantly over him. This is a lie, because Batman has a plan for everyone in this suit, and he knew that Wonder Woman would only stop attacking him if she felt she won. So he managed to get a magical artifact onto her shoulders that shows her what she wants to see. The bind of veils. As she stands there thinking that she's won, Batman calls back to the cave. Are you picking up the others, Alfred? Alfred responds with no, but there's a reason why Alfred can't pick anyone up. Because it's the Flash, and he's moving faster than anyone can read. Batman shouts, "Run, Red!" And the suit moves into hyperdrive, processing data faster than any human reaction. Fast enough to map the Flash's movements if he isn't moving at his optimal speed. It then fires a frictionless coating onto the street right in front of the Flash before he can react, sending him into a nearby building. This isn't even close to done though, as Aquaman appears behind Batman. Batman begins to realize that this is insane. Who has the power to turn the entire Justice League against him? At least Aquaman isn't a problem, as the suit launches a hardening foam that sucks moisture out of its target, and it seals itself around Aquaman. Alfred calls into Batman, telling him that he needs to get out of there. There are still 3 more members of the League. Batman stands there though. This is the safest place in the city. If it's Vic, I have the electromagnetic tree. If it's Hal, I have the Citrone neutralizer. But please, let him still be off-world. But Batman isn't that lucky, as Superman comes barreling in, slamming the suit into a nearby building. Sorry about your little Justice Buster suit, Bruce, Superman says as he hovers over him. Who did this to you? Who? Well, it's a funny story, really. No, not him, not the Joker! Oh yes, and no one's going to save you this time. As he drops half a building on Batman. But Batman gets up and he takes a swing across Superman's jaw with the power of microscopic red suns collected from dead solar systems. Superman just laughs and he throws Batman into the street. Who wins a fight, Bruce? Batman or Superman? And he launches in with his heat vision, only to have Batman deflected off the suit with plasma shields. So Superman fires his heat vision into the building behind Batman, bringing it down on him. He then grabs the suit and he takes off for the sky, saying, up, up and away! In the sky, Superman begins to tear the pieces of the suit off of Bruce. Where are you, Bruce? Eventually, there is no Justice Buster suit, and only Batman remains. So Superman holds his face close to Batman's. He says, beg. So Batman spits a radioactive Kryptonian dust into Superman's eyes, kryptonite gum as Alfred calls it, and Superman is knocked out. Both men fall into Gotham Harbor, and Batman answers the question. Who would win? Batman or Superman? Neither of us. With the whole ordeal officially behind him, Batman gets back to the Batcave and he places an antidote for the standard Joker venom into the bloodstream of each Justice League member. This whole plan is the Joker's doing, and because of it, the Justice League is currently removed from the fight for the next week. Batman then tries to figure out exactly what the Joker was trying to say by sending his old friends against him. The Joker always saw himself as a friend to Batman, challenging him and improving him. But this is turning his friends into enemies, and the Joker might be done playing games. Batman's first stop is the collapsed Arkham Asylum. It fell during the horrific week that was Batman Eternal, and he walks around the wreckage looking to glean any clues that he can find. Oddly, there is one man in the building with Batman, Eric Border, one of the newest members of the Arkham Asylum staff. He asks Batman if he needs any help, if he's okay, and Batman just shrugs it off. I'm fine, Mr. Border. You should be at Arkham Manor with the rest of the staff taking care of the inmates. Eric just follows behind Batman. I wanted to help the inmates of Arkham. I wanted to help the city. I wanted to help you most of all. But then I saw that there wasn't any helping you. Because you don't see a helping hand. Even if it's right in front of your face. And he shuts Batman into one of the cells as he was investigating it. Batman turns around as the door shuts. What did you say? Eric, did he get to you? And Eric begins to wipe away the makeup. He ruffles up his hair. You really don't recognize me, do you, Batman? I was hoping you wouldn't. And then he drops a gas bomb into the cell with Batman. So, Bats, you miss me? And in front of Batman, right in front of his face behind the gate, is the Joker. Batman can't move because the gas is a paralytic, so Joker continues as he pulls out his face, the one that he used to use as a mask in their last little adventure. The last time, it was supposed to have a happy ending. It was a comedy, but you ruined it by dropping me off of that cliff. So this time, no more games, no more jokes. I'm just here to close up shop. You have become boring. He pulls out a gun and he pulls the trigger, revealing the old school bang gun. He then leaves Batman there, paralyzed, forced to watch as Joker walks away. It gets even worse though, because while the Joker and Batman have been in there, Joker released a toxin into the city of Gotham, and the whole city is now becoming Jokerized by an airborne version of his Joker toxin. This one drives the person insane and eventually kills them. And as the paralyzing agent wears off, Batman makes his way back to the Batcave where Alfred is already trying to create an antidote. But there's something new in this serum. Something that is fighting against all of Batman's antitoxins. So Batman decides to go where the first case spawned, and he tracks down Patient Zero to the local Gotham hospital. En route to the location, he calls up Jim Gordon to let him know that he's already working on it, and Jim just needs to hide out until this whole thing passes. All of Gotham is a threat right now. Jim explains that he's been watching this from his window, and it turns friends into enemies, and it seeks out a person's affections so that it can ruin them for that person. Jim should be a little more concerned about himself though, and not the city, because as Batman is making his way through the hospital, Joker comes a-knocking. Or more accurately, Joker has been in Gordon's house all along. He comes crawling out from underneath his bed, laughing in a way that only the Joker could. He then lights Jim's house on fire and he stands over his victory triumphantly. He then begins to swing an axe around Jim's house, threatening him even further. Jim holds up his gun, and he sees the Joker right in front of him. This is it. He can end it all. It's a self-defense thing after all. So he takes the shot, right in the heart, a single bullet. As Batman is leaving the hospital from his own horrible ordeal in which the Joker tried to recreate the death of his parents for him to relive, he gets a phone call from Jim. I did it. He came at me. I had no choice. I did it. He's gone, Batman. Just flesh and blood, and now he's dead. Not magic, not reborn. If only this was truly a win for Batman and Gordon, because as Jim is telling Batman, Joker is standing up right behind him with a big old grin on his face. He grabs the phone from Jim with Batman on the other line, and he says two words that send a chill down Batman's spine. Hello, Bruce. Batman gets to Jim's house as quickly as he can, only to find Jim slumped over with an axe in his chest. And Batman hits him with a tranquilizer to prevent the Joker toxin from taking a hold of him. He then bandages Jim up and decides that he's going to the source of all of this. The Joker would have needed help to make something this twisted. So while Batman runs across the city, he sends a blood sample to Dick Grayson to analyze, a copy of the Joker's blood from the gunshot. Batman is fighting against the Jokerized versions of his glorious city, and Grayson tells him that there's something weird in this blood, a regenerative strain. And it's the exact same strain in the virus, but in the virus, it's a decaying version. So Batman figures it out, that the Joker has been taking something to allow him to heal from anything, and there is only one doctor in Gotham who could have possibly done that. A doctor in Arkham. But while Batman is running around Gotham trying to get to Arkham, the Joker is silently swimming in some of the deepest waters in Gotham, without an air tank, without scuba gear, and nothing more than a big old grin on his face. Batman breaks into the lab of the Doctor and he demands to know what he did to the virus. How did Joker heal from the fall off the cliff and from cutting his own face off? The Doctor informs Batman that he didn't create anything. The element in the Joker and in the virus is older than anything else, and it's something that the Joker showed to the Doctor. He explains to Batman that there are age-old legends of individuals who stumble across a substance in the soil or the water and they are transformed. Well, these aren't legends. They were clues to something real, and he calls it Dionysium. It's very real, and the carriers walk among us today. There's a savage out there who encountered it in its oldest form, and he's still among us. And there's a man who calls himself a demon that keeps pools of this liquid around the world. It's a corrupted version, but it's still very effective. Then there's him, the pale man who laughs at us, and has been there ever since Gotham rose. Batman throws the Doctor out of the window, but he holds on to him. You created this Dionysium, and you gave it to him. Then you made an inversion of it for the virus. Where are you keeping it so I can cure this? But the Doctor continues. You're wrong. I got it from him. It's in his spine. I could never make anything this potent. While Batman leaves the Doctor hanging from the window, Penny 2 calls him up. This is bad, Batman. We have hours until everyone in the city dies, and to make matters even creepier, I did a facial recog on the Joker throughout history just to debunk this charade. But Batman, he's all over throughout history. This can't be real, Batman says, gritting his teeth. It can't end this way. So Batman goes off the grid for a few hours to ask the Court of the Owls if they've ever heard of the Joker, but all he gets down there is a fight. When he comes back out, he gets a call he never expected. Penny 2 telling him that the Joker broke into the Batcave. Alfred tried to confront him, but the Joker just chopped off his hand with a cleaver. Penny 1 and Penny 2 retreated to the armory where they are now, and she's bandaged up Alfred, but the Joker took all of Batman's trophies out of the Batcave, and he's currently parading them down the streets of Gotham in his own twisted celebration, taunting Batman to come and get the Dionysium out of his spine, daring him. But Batman has finally got a plan working out, and he's finally getting this back in his court. Because down there is a wonderful distraction for the Joker as Batgirl, Red Robin, Red Hood, and Bluebird are all fighting against the Jokerized civilians alongside some of Batman's worst villains. Croc, Scarecrow, Bane, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and Penguin are all helping battle against the Joker's toxins and his plans. They want to own Gotham. They don't want to see it crumble. The battle is intense and the Joker stands on top of his float laughing at Batman as he tries to make his way through the crowds of people. As Batman runs over, he shouts for Bane's attention, and Bane throws him over the crowd right into the Joker's float, where the Joker takes a chainsaw trying to cut off the pieces that Batman is hanging onto. But Batman just gets up and onto the float before the Joker can do anything, and then he gets him into a chokehold. A needle pops out of his glove as he prepares to extract the fluid from the Joker's spine. But the Joker's prepared, as he sets off a high-pitched sound so bad that it drops everyone to their knees except for him. Then grabbing Batman's face, he breaks his gas mask and he tells him, "It's hopeless. I tainted the Dionysium in my spine. But you want to know the kicker of all of this? There's still some Dionysium right here in Gotham. If only you knew your city better. Now let me look into your eyes as I finally win." And he removes Batman's mask, revealing Dick Grayson. "You're not Bruce! You're... And Grayson stops him. "I think the word you're looking for is Dick." Meanwhile, Batman is descending into the cave that Joker was just bragging about. He walks forward and he finds a big green glowing pool of Dynesium. Penny 2, I found it. Joker must have found this pool after I dropped him off of the cliff. It must have healed his face, his broken bones, and everything about him. Isn't there a chance that he's just been around forever though? Penny 2 asks. And then she confirms the sample that Batman sends up to her. It's the stuff that can cure the Joker toxin. Suddenly, explosions go off throughout the entire cave, and Batman calls up, Penny 2, listen to me. No matter what happens, you need to. And before he can stop, the Joker stabs him in the back. Penny 2 calls back down, I'm pulling you up, Bruce. But Batman unclips his belt. I'm staying here, Penny 2. He'll just follow me up. Now get that cure out of here. That's the spirit, Joker tells him as he digs 2 knives into Batman's back. I know what you're thinking, Brucey. Was I always this fast? Did I train? Did the Dynesium make me faster? Or was I hiding my true skill from you? And in response to that, Batman tackles the Joker and the 2 men begin to roll down a cliffside. At the bottom, they hit each other so hard that they draw blood in single swings. There's no holding back now. It's just Batman and the Joker at the bottom of one of the deepest pits in Gotham. The Joker cracks a joke about how this is going to leave a mark. If only he didn't heal. But Batman smirks. Oh, it'll leave a mark. I laced the Batarang with an immune response blocker. If you have been taking the Dynesium that's here in this pool in its weaker form, then it'll prevent it from healing. But if you are who you say you are, and the Dynesium in your spine is pure, then it'll heal. So all that's left for you to do is show me your cards, Joker. And the Joker turns back to Batman, throwing razor-sharp playing cards at him, lodging one right into his eye socket. But Batman ignores the pain as he leaps onto the Joker, biting off his ear and taking a few more clean shots at his head. Then both men collapse to the ground in pools of blood. The Joker pulls himself up onto Batman, and with a knife ready to plunge into his face. I'm the one who laughs, get it? I've always been there laughing at you, at all of you, at the great joke that you think your lives have meaning, that any of it matters. But then you showed up, and you gave my meaningless a meaning. That's the funny part. I could have made you forever, just like you always wanted. My blood could have saved you. We could have had a happy ending. It could have been hilarious. But Batman tells the Joker, it's not over. And he maneuvers the Joker in the way of a falling rock, breaking the Joker's back. Both men lay there, unable to move, until the Joker begins to drag his broken body to the Dynesium pool. What did you do to my back? I need the Dynesium! Wait, Joker, Batman tells him as he climbs onto his back and he holds him still. I need to tell you something. I need to tell you that I finally believe you. I see it, right here, right now. You are the Pale Man. I'll be dead in minutes from these injuries. So won't you stay with me? Just for a bit? Stay with me and forgive me. Forgive me for being so blind. But the Joker looks around panicked. Just please, let me go! This whole place is coming down! Just forgive me, Joker. Fine, I forgive you! I forgive you! But it's too late as a giant boulder falls into the Dynesium pool, sealing it up. As Penny 2 insists on lowering the last of the Dynesium back to Bruce so that he can recover, he tells her to just take it to the surface. If he even tried to open it, it could compromise the structure and all of Gotham could fall. He's just going to rest here for a while. He'll be fine. 2 weeks pass and no one has seen Batman. The city of Gotham hosts a vigil of bat signals every night, calling to their hero. But no Dark Knight comes. Batman vanished at the end of Endgame. Did he die, or is he just healing up? We don't know the answer to that, but we do know that Batman is needed. The Vigilantes doing whatever they wanted has almost cost us the city of Gotham multiple times. So, who do you have take over as Batman? All of those other guys, they're loose cannons doing whatever they please. They don't have the city's best interest in mind. In fact, it's because of them that things get out of control so often. Vampires, assassins, monsters, aliens, and now Joker-toxined citizens have tried to control the city. We need a Batman that works for Gotham. We need a Batman that we can trust. So the government moved forward with their own Batman plan, taking the best of the best in the police department and training them. But the head of the project, Miss Powers, has other ideas. She invited Jim Gordon to the Batman training facility. Jim Gordon was a Marine. He knows Gotham. He knows what this city needs. It doesn't matter how old he is, he'll be behind a mask at all times. But Jim tells her he can't do it. This is insane. So he takes to the rooftop of the police station that night where he talks to his friend Harvey Bullock. Jim tells Harvey about how they asked him to become Batman. Harvey is in shock. You can't become Batman, Jim. You're police. Trench coat wearing police. And that is a 10-foot tall trench coat. Plus, you smoke. Batman doesn't smoke. But Jim has already considered all of this. You ever wondered if Batman would be more effective working within the law, Harvey? What if Batman could show people that the system worked? Just then, one of the Batman candidates walks onto the roof. He came up to face chat with his newborn son. Both Jim and Harvey look at the young man, and then they look at each other. Harvey takes Jim's cigarette. Give me that. And you know you're gonna need to get LASIK surgery for your eyes, right? They both knew what Jim was about to agree to. The next few months go by quickly, and they show him the new robotic batsuit made out of nanocarbon. And they train him to peak fighting condition. That's it. That's all it took. He shaved off his mustache and gave himself a new haircut, and Gordon was the new Batman in a robotic suit with a black batsuit underneath it all. He now watches Gotham, and no vigilantes are welcome here. As a matter of fact, one of his first objectives is to arrest all of Batman's old allies. Bruce Wayne is nothing more than a man right now. After the events of Endgame, his mind was healed, and it healed all of the traumatic memories. Without the elements that turned him into Batman, he is nothing more than a billionaire trying his best to help the world with his money. And Alfred wants it to stay that way. That may be a problem though, as the Justice League needs their detective. They need Batman, so they come knocking on the front door of Wayne Manor. When Alfred answers the door, Wonder Woman tells him that they would like to speak to Bruce. And Alfred explains, as he told Superman several days ago when Superman showed up looking for his friend, there are a great number of reasons why Bruce Wayne cannot honor his Justice League responsibilities anymore. But Superman chimes in. Something's come up, Alfred. And as Shazam explains, the League is stronger with Batman on our side, especially when he's in full-on detective mode. And the Flash finishes the thought. In other words, Mr. Pennyworth, we would like to see if there's a chance that the Bruce we need is still there. We're looking for a lifeline to grab onto and pull him out of this fog. What Bruce has been given is a new lifeline. No history, no baggage, no tragedy, no entanglements. He is truly free to walk in the light and start over. The Bruce Wayne that you need is simply not there anymore. We're asking to reach out to Bruce one final time to help save countless lives, Wonder Woman tells him. And Bruce walks in at that moment. So why don't you ask me? Wonder Woman walked Bruce Wayne to the back of Wayne Manor where they sat down as she used the lasso of truth to get definitive answers as to his state of mind. He knows about the League, everyone on Earth does, and he knows that he did something for them a long time ago and he's proud and honored to have helped them. He didn't overhear much of the League's talks of Pennyworth, and if there's anything he can do to help them now, he'd be more than willing to do so. They both then walk back into the main hall where Wonder Woman tells the team it wouldn't be best for him to try and help them right now. So Superman shakes Bruce Wayne's hand goodbye and the League leaves the manor, sad that they don't have their Bruce Wayne anymore. Meanwhile, across Gotham, Jim Gordon is putting his bandages on from his latest fight. Once Batman went missing, a new Batman was built, one to protect Gotham and one to remove all of the vigilantes that were potentially causing these problems. He went to the local baseball game as Jim Gordon and he was called in to stop some F-15s from flying in and attacking Gotham. Using his jetpack, he takes off and he lands on the jets before he begins to take them apart piece by piece and tear the pilot out of it. He then looks on as the destroyed F-15 begins to crash into Gotham, and he calls in help to catch it before it hurts someone. Wonder Woman then shows up and breaks it into pieces. Batman turns to her. We'll handle these planes, Batman. Who's we? He then looks on as the Justice League stops each and every one of the planes, allowing Batman to grab the man behind this entire plan, the Mad Hatter. He then flew over to where the League was waiting for him in awe. This was the Justice League! He lands, wanting to thank them for their help, but Aquaman cuts it short. We came here for a reason, and time is of the essence, so we'll cut the pleasantry short. They all know who he is, and they need his help. Batman was the detective of the team, and he always spoke very highly of Jim Gordon. He tells them, who am I to say no to the Justice League? So they slap him on the back with a Watchtower teleporter, and the whole group is teleported to the snowy mountains in front of a giant-sized skeleton. Batman gets right to work looking at the hands because they reveal a lot about a person, as he says. Shazam and Flash dig the hands out of the snow right away, and Batman can see that they are covered with defensive wounds. He then has Wonder Woman lift the skull, where he finds a large entry wound in the back of the skull. Realizing that he stumbled onto a giant homicide, Batman begins looking for the murder weapon, and he finds a club-shaped rock structure a little ways off. Flash runs through the entire area looking for caves, and Shazam helps Batman lift the rock until they can find the cave that it was removed from. Inside, they find a gelatinous substance moving upwards, and they follow it deeper into the cave until they find a second giant skeleton that appears to have committed suicide. The Flash teleported to the Watchtower to investigate a little further, and they all discover that the first skeleton was a male and the second one is a female, while the gelatin is human-based. At that moment, one of the creatures breaks through the nearby wall, spewing the material all over the League. Cyborg grabs Batman as they both jet out of the cave while the rest of the League is covered up. So Batman turns around. Damn it to hell, I should have done something, and he fires a rocket back in that direction. Are you crazy? You'll start an avalanche, Cyborg tells him. And then he tells him, get a hold of yourself, blowing up things won't help. Those are my teammates in there, and they'll be fine. Cyborg and Batman both go back inside slowly, where they see the monster crying over the skeleton, and the League stuck in the gel, and that's when Batman puts it all together. He has no idea why or how these creatures got here in the first place, but he believes the female one was pregnant, and the male one was crippled or injured or unable to move. He saw a fracture in his shin. The female must have killed her husband in order to stay alive by eating him, and save the baby. Then she went to the cave where she fed the baby pieces of herself until there was no more to feed it. She then killed herself so that the baby could eat the rest and survive. The only problem is that the baby was attached to the mother and he wouldn't leave her side even with her dead. So, its survival mechanism kicked in and it released that gel, which is a kind of breast milk to this creature, but on our world, you can only get it from human eyeballs. He then turns to Cyborg. Can you make a 3D rendering of its mother and superimpose it on that skeleton? Once you do that, the creature will pay attention to its mother and ignore the League, so that they can get the League out of there. Batman takes off providing the distraction, and Cyborg makes the 3D model, which immediately gets the child's attention. With the League free, they scan the creature finally, and they realize that this creature is going to die of starvation soon, and it would be best to hold the 3D rendering there so that the creature can die with its mother. The League then teleports to an earthquake crisis elsewhere, and Batman agrees to stay and keep an eye on this creature as it dies. As they teleport away, Aquaman tells Batman that he just took his first step towards being epic. And once they leave, Gordon takes his helmet off, and then he moves the arm of the 3D rendering around the child while he sings it a lullaby. The Batarang goes stunk. It's Jim Gordon standing there practicing when Julia Pennyworth walks over to check on him. Batman has been missing for an undetermined amount of time. While at first the GCPD was waiting for his return, eventually crime started to get bad again. So they asked Jim Gordon if he would like to be the new Batman, one that worked for the GCPD. It took a little convincing, but Jim Gordon took his role, and he's gone on adventures where he met the Justice League, teamed up with Superman, and even stopped a Robin war. But he is starting to truly understand what it means to be Batman. To celebrate, Julia and Daryl show him his new Batmobile, a massive tank of a machine. But before they can celebrate any further, Daryl lets them know that he's getting pings on his new Bat app. Jim Gordon suits up and jumps out of his Bat blimp, ready to start this fight up. As he lands, he takes a face of dirt as a man with horns throws it at him. Julia and Daryl scream over the mic, "Batman, are you okay?" And Jim coughs it up. "I think a building just hit me, but I'm fine." The Horn Man throws more rubble at Batman, and he dodges, flinging batarangs at the member of the Triad. The guy gets up and begins swirling the rubble and dirt around and throws it at Batman. But this is an armored suit, and Batman punches his way out of it, until he sees where it's going. The member of the Triad made himself a battlesuit out of all of the rubble around him. So Batman throws a thermal grenade into the armor, and it superheats up the whole thing before Batman winds up to hit it. But the goon hits Batman with everything, throwing him into the bay. So Batman calls the new Batmobile and drops it on the guy. Batman walks over to him and informs him that they need to get him to the hospital. The seed in his ankle that's been giving him these weird powers is about to break open and begin killing him. You see, someone's been growing seeds that grant powers to villains and passing them around. But it can kill its user when the villain behind the whole thing wants. Batman walks over to the thug and he asks him, "Who gave you the seed?" And the only answer they get out of him is Mr. Bloom, before he dies from the seed in his ankle. Mr. Bloom. Meanwhile, across Gotham, Bruce Wayne is living a happy life, in which he is helping the less fortunate. You see, at the end of Endgame, he suffered a massive amount of head trauma. The Dynesium that he was laying next to healed up those injuries, but it also healed up any mental trauma that he was dealing with. This gave him amnesia as he doesn't remember the events that turned him into Batman, or any of his life as a superhero. When he showed back up after missing, he decided to use his fortune to help out at a local orphanage. And it is here that he meets Jim Gordon. "Hello, Mr. Wayne. I'm Batman, and I need your help." Bruce Wayne tells him that he has no idea what he can do for Jim Gordon, for Batman. And Gordon hands him one of the seeds explaining that it is from a man named Mr. Bloom, and he's turning people into metahumans with terrible abilities. "I don't know why you're coming to me, Mr. Gordon. Because you are the key to Batman. At least for me you are. The suit is made out of Wayne tech, which is your tech. I was hoping that you could help me reconfigure some of the programming so that I can work as Batman privately. Everything I do is being tracked by the police. I'm just the middleman." Bruce very sternly looks at Gordon. "Listen, whoever I was before, I can't be again. This rec center is important to me and I'm trying to build a life here, using the most basic blocks. Do you understand?" "Bruce, I wasn't trying to." But then both men are interrupted by Julie Madison. She tells Gordon that she doesn't recognize him without his mustache and with all those muscles. So Gordon decides to leave the seat with Bruce and he walks out, while Bruce explains to Julie that Gordon just had the wrong guy, that's all. Meanwhile, sitting outside is Clark Kent and Alfred. Clark wants to know who that man is because it looks like Bruce, but it isn't. So he wants to know what happened to his old friend. Alfred explains that when the cave collapsed on Bruce and Joker, Alfred felt it. The family was hopeful, but Alfred knew that it was over. It was Julie Madison that found Bruce, intact and acting like he had just woken up. After the cave collapsed, everything was healed by the Dynesium, even his mind. With his skull crushed, the Dynesium seeped into his brain and healed up the dead tissue. When Bruce was brought to Alfred, he told him everything. About his parents, about Joker's attack, about how he rebuilt Wayne Enterprises as a symbol, and just as he was about to walk Bruce to the clock and into the cave to explain Batman, Bruce told him to stop. Bruce explained that he didn't know what the accident did to him, but he wasn't that person anymore. Clark stopped him. "Alfred, if you won't tell him that he was Batman, I will." "Is that so, Mr. Kent?" "This is Bruce Wayne. He has no combat skills, detective skills, and is missing 15 years of training. It's not recoverable because those memories are gone. He is powerless to wear the cowl. But he's Batman. He always has a way back." Alfred leads Clark to Batman's final invention, a device that would ensure that there was always a Batman in the world. Something that would imprint all of Batman's original pain, training, and memories into a new person. But it doesn't work, because Batman was never meant to live forever. Batman died and Bruce Wayne came back. Let someone else suffer for this cursed city. Back with Jim, he breaks into the Devil Pig's lair, a base of operations for one of the local gangs, and he does so without the robotic suit, but a simple bat suit because he wants to do this without the police knowing. As he walks through the fish hatchery that they are known to keep as their base, he finds a shark with horns and jokingly tells Julia, "Call PETA." Then he looks across the hatchery and he sees him. Mr. Bloom is talking to the leader of the Devil Pigs. Talk about perfect timing. Then the Devil Pigs walk out with guns pointed at Gordon. Julia alerts him that she can't put the suit into stealth mode. Someone is blocking their frequency. It's as if they knew it. They ask Gordon if he's ever seen RoboCop and they cock their guns. But he grabs his Batarang launcher gun and he dives for cover as the bullets fly over his shoulder. Then as the bullets stop, he shoots the shark tank, freeing the freakish shark, and he uses it for cover, shooting up the rest of the guys. Thinking he's won, he reports in, but that's when the floor gives way and he finds himself in an industrial furnace. Julia calls to him, "Get out, you'll be cooked alive!" But then her face is smashed against the window of the van as someone has found her. Meanwhile, back at the rec center, a young boy named Duke breaks into the back room to get his hands on the seed Gordon left for Bruce. And back with Mr. Bloom, he takes a meeting with Cobblepot to inform him that Cobblepot will not be a part of any of this. He will not be supplied with the superpower-granting seeds. Cobblepot has his men shoot Mr. Bloom in the face, but Mr. Bloom gets back up. "I am but a weed." And then Mr. Bloom stabs Cobblepot through the stomach along with all of his men. And weeds grow very fast. Gordon fiddles with his gun, but it's been fried. The temperature is rising fast. Gordon realizes while he has a Batarang gun, he'll need to do this the old-fashioned way and throw his Batarang. He takes aim and he throws it with all of his might. And on the main level, the goons are trying to save who they can to report the whole thing to Mr. Bloom until Gordon punches the main goon across the jaw. "Stay down! Now where the hell is Bloom?" A guy sneaks up on him and he beats him in the face with his elbow. But the men on the ground aren't down and they start hitting Gordon all over and pulling him down and clawing at him. Blood begins to pool on the ground as Gordon realizes he's done. It's over, and he begins to fade until the ceiling caves in and in jumps the robotic bat suit. The bat blimp informs him that they picked up Julia and the suit is on autopilot. Just relax and let it do its thing. The suit launches missiles to counter their RPGs and it beats the thugs down with a fish. Gordon is amazed and they explain that this is partner mode, and his partner is here for him. Across Gotham the next day, Bruce is walking through the wreckage of Joker's attack. It's there that he sees kids trying to bury the wreckage with dirt, for fear that some other psycho will arrive and try to use it. Bruce realizes that he's helping this rec center so the kids can feel safe here, but they don't feel safe if they're waiting for the next attack. Julie explains that she used to be afraid of her father breaking out of prison or just being let go. While she used to toughen up to get through the next day, Bruce had been through something far more dramatic, and instead of feeling safe, he channeled whatever fear he felt into making other people feel brave. Years later, she saw him on TV doing that for the whole city, and what she tells him is if he needs to do it again on a bigger scale, she'd understand. Bruce tells her what Gordon wanted he can't do. He doesn't know anything that happens with Wayne Enterprises any longer. He even went to the manor the other day to try on his old suits, and he wasn't the man in the photos. That man is gone. So Julie tells him that they'll figure things out here. And for the record, what he's doing matters to these kids and to her. Then Bruce kisses her on the forehead, and before he can tell her that he loves her, she tells him to shut up, and they walk back in together. Meanwhile, Gordon is recovering and speaking to Jerry, one of the heads of the whole Batman project. She's firing him. The whole Devil Pig situation is all over the news, and at the presentation this morning, she would like Jim to resign his position. She explains people need faith in the system, so they would like Jim to pick the next replacement for his role, because together they can continue to give Gotham hope, and they can fix this. Over at Wayne Enterprises, Duke runs into Daryl to show him the seed. He wants to know about Bloom, and he asks if he can help with Bloom as he shows a Robin R. Duke is actually in the We Are Robin gang. Daryl explains that Batman doesn't need a Robin, and Duke tells him that he knows Robin is the street, but they want to help. That evening high above Gotham, the conference is held with the Batsuit sitting out in the open and Gordon sitting off to the side preparing to resign, when Julia Pennyworth and Gordon both see it. A giant ship careening in the direction of the display. Gordon runs out shouting, "Get down!" and then he jumps off the Batsuit to get Jerry down as the ship comes crashing through the glass. Various weeds shoot out, killing individuals, and Mr. Bloom steps out. The party's just started! Mr. Bloom walks through the hall, killing everyone around him, even cracking little jokes at the expense of his victims as he dips his finger in the dip and tells someone to relax. Have some dip, stabbing them in the eye with the dip. Then once he has the richest of Gotham's members' attention, he tells them, "I was like you once, a bleeding heart," as he stabs another man in the chest. "A soldier of Gotham," as he points to Commissioner Sawyer, "and the community activists." Jerry steps up. "What do you want? You're just hurting people." That's when he reaches into his pocket. "I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. Here, take my contribution to the fundraiser." And he hands Jerry $1. Before he can kill Jerry though, as he is threatening, Gordon jumps on his back and fires batarangs into the back of his head. As he throws Gordon aside, Gordon yells out, "Hey rookie, go pick some flowers." The suit turns on and it begins to move towards Mr. Bloom. Except Mr. Bloom launches 3 more of his fingers into the suit, tearing it open. He then spears Gordon through the shoulder and he lifts him off the ground, preparing to kill him, until he floats off the ground himself as Julia Pennyworth turned on the giant magnet built to lift the suit off the ground. Luckily, Mr. Bloom's seeds are electromagnetic. Sitting above everyone, he tells Gordon they could talk for so long if his friends weren't around. He then smashes the magnet and he makes a run for it. They try and chase him, but he's gone before anyone can do anything else. Meanwhile, down in Gotham, Bruce is getting closer and closer to Julie. He even entertains the idea of marriage. Over at the Iceberg Lounge, Duke is sneaking into Cobblepot's base of operations. Everyone knows that Bloom put Cobblepot in the hospital before anything could happen, so Duke is hoping to find something as he opens up a book in a locked drawer, and he is in shock. But Cobblepot and his friends all come down to find Duke dangling there. Back with Gordon and Jerry, she shows him the new plan. An army of robotic batsuits prepared to defend this city, all automated and a full police force. But Gordon asks for one more chance to get this guy before she goes that route. If he dies, she'll have his resignation. He rides out on his souped-up bat bike to Blossom Row, where all of his clues are bringing him. He walks inside and he puts the suit into partner mode, and right away, Bloom welcomes him, but he sounds different. Gordon asks him, where's the grandstanding? And Bloom tells him, that was all for show. This is real. And he invites Jim to sit by his side before everything changes in Gotham, because he's going to miss this. Gordon tells him, there's no way out, Bloom. It's over. So come over to me so that we can talk about what you were planning. Bloom doesn't move, so Gordon raises his gun, and he tells Rookie to go over there and get him. But the suit doesn't move. Gordon looks back at him. Rookie? And Bloom says, you heard him, Rookie. So the suit grabs Gordon by the back of the neck, lifting him off the ground. The suit's grip is tightening around Gordon's throat, and he begs for Rookie to stop. Julia Pennyworth calls up Gordon over the comms. It's no use, Mr. Bloom put a transmitter into the suit back in the ballroom. Gordon struggles trying to tell it to let him go, and Mr. Bloom tells it to comply, throwing Gordon into the sky. He goes higher and higher, and he sees that he's heading straight for the blades of the news helicopter. But just as he's about to hit it, he launches a grappling hook back down to the building down below, and he comes crashing down into a pile of seeds that grant Mr. Bloom's followers their abilities. The suit runs at him, trying to grab him, so Gordon jumps to the side. He knows that the suit can read through all of his invisibility tricks, so he'll need to use mobility. He leaps to the side, crippling the suit's leg so that it can't move, and knowing that it'll launch missiles when it's frozen in place, he watches it blow itself up. He then grabs the head of the suit, apologizing to it, but that's when Mr. Bloom steps forward. Back with Duke, he's been trying to help out as he is one of the We Are Robin kids. His investigation has led him to Cobblepot's club, where he is now dangling from a rope over a bunch of supervillains. He quickly distracts them all and he jumps to a nearby window, making a break for it. But just as he's about to be home free, Cobblepot fires a gun that destroys the ice that Duke is running on, throwing him aside. Back with Gordon, Mr. Bloom has him pinned down with a foot of weeds. He tells Gordon that he has no idea what he's up against. The city will be changed, and he would love for Gordon to see it. A whole city regrown with new seeds. Gordon asks him if he means the seeds that he was just fighting in, because they smell a little crispy after he fought in them. Bloom goes silent, and then he raises a hand, yelling, only to be stopped by an electrical charge thanks to a jammer in the Batsuit. Thanks, Rookie, Gordon says as he begins to get back up. Meanwhile, back with the Duke, he's about to be shot by Cobblepot's thugs when Bruce Wayne hits them over the head with a bat. Duke swims to the surface, telling Bruce, I didn't ask for help. Well, if you didn't want help, then you shouldn't have used the rec center's computer for your research. They walk out of the area and Bruce asks Duke what his problem is. That's when Duke gets a text about his parents. Daryl found news on them, and Duke has been searching for his parents ever since they were infected during Joker's attack in the We Are Robin comic series. The video is linked down below. He looks back up at Bruce. You know what my problem is with you, Bruce? How did you find me? I told you. The seed was gone, so I looked up the search history on the computer and I discovered it. You discovered? No, you deduced. You figured out how to fix the AC in the rec center. You figured out how to turn a horror show into a playground. You figure out things, Bruce. You solve riddles. You're the damn best at it. You're the best in the world. Look what's right in front of your face. What the hell are you talking about? Duke leads Bruce down onto some train tracks with the train approaching fast, and he stops on the tracks telling Bruce, what do you see? Bruce is terrified of the train coming, the noises, the lights, but he doesn't see a train. He sees a giant bat, and just before it hits them, Bruce pushes Duke out of the way. Duke apologizes and he runs off, leaving Bruce to think about what he just saw. Meanwhile, Gordon has managed to capture Mr. Bloom, and the police are hauling him off. He did it. He successfully stopped his first supervillain. Except, did he? The roof gets torn off and there stands Mr. Bloom? Out on the street in front of the armored bat truck, a dozen more Mr. Blooms show up. They hit the truck hard, throwing it off of the road. Meanwhile, Bruce has made his way to a bench on a lake to think, and a man walks up to him and takes a seat next to him, asking him what brings him here. Bruce tells him, I was in an accident over a year ago. The man turns to Bruce, showing us his green eyes and a smile. So was I. Duke follows the text to a psychiatric ward, where he discovers that his parents were found. But it's far too late. The Joker's toxin was in their systems for far too long, and it is now irreversible. His parents don't even remember him, even when he begs them. They're a lost cause. Bruce asks the man sitting next to him, do we know each other? Oh, I'm just here to fight you to the death. Excuse me? For this bench, of course. I'm sorry, I was kidding. We both seem to love this spot equally. What did you say your name was? Shh. Watch this. The man throws bread into the water and the fish swarm around it. They're starving down there. This spot used to be full of bugs, but now it's not. Bruce gets up to leave. I should go. I don't know if I'll be back, so I guess the bench is yours. Before you go, can I show you something? The man reaches into his pocket. Meanwhile, over at the wreckage of the Bat Tank, Jim Gordon pulls himself out beaten and bloodied, and Mr. Bloom wraps his hands around Jim's face. Back at the pond, the man pulls out a gun. Bruce looks startled and he apologizes. I didn't mean to startle you. You see, I was hurt in the Joker's attack as well. At first, I felt lost because I didn't know who I was. My old life was wiped away and I didn't see a point in starting over. So I bought the gun and I came here to use it on myself. But then I noticed how quiet this spot was. Like it was the one spot in all of Gotham a gun shouldn't be fired. So I came back every day. Now I have an apartment and I work in a butcher shop. And I see you here, and lately you seem at rest. So don't do it. Don't become the man you were before. Bruce grabs the man by the coat. Come here. What do you know about who I was? You're Bruce Wayne. You can stop it all from going back to the way it was. Me? You think I can stop it? I love someone. I am someone here. You think I want to go back? Why should I? Why isn't it enough? Why? Calm down. I was just talking about the lake. You can keep it from getting infested again. Suddenly, there is an explosion off in the distance, and Bruce runs back in the direction of Jules, the woman he loves. Walking through the center of the city is Mr. Bloom, the size of a building, carrying Jim Gordon and destroying everything. Hundreds of other Mr. Blooms are walking around the city, continuing the destruction, and Mr. Bloom explains that he gave each of these people one of his seeds to become him, to gain power, because he saw something in them. But there are also hundreds of seeds hidden throughout the city. Anyone can have powers! We'll regrow this city into a wonderful place! Gordon tries to tell everyone not to listen to him, but it's too late. Bloom stabs Gordon again. Alfred is watching the horror on the television, and that's when he hears bang, bang, bang! No, he says to himself, bang, bang, bang! I can't hear you! Bang! And the door flies open with Bruce Wayne standing there. Take me to my cave! Bruce demands to know what's behind the clock, and Alfred tells him, nothing, sir, nothing! It goes to the caves below this place, doesn't it? There was fear in your voice when you were explaining my history to me, like you didn't want me to know about this. Bruce walks towards it, and Alfred stops him. No, you can't go down there! He's dead! He finally died fighting the monster like he wanted! Alfred falls to his knees. The others, someone else can do it! Let them be the hero! Alfred, I'm Batman, and it's time for you to take me to my cave. Alfred opens the door and they walk inside, and then he walks him down into the cave. They walk over to the machine that Bruce built, the one with the ability to make a new Batman, and Bruce sees that Alfred destroyed it. Alfred explains that it never worked. It kills anyone who tries to take in everything that made Batman who he was. No normal human can take it. But Bruce insists. He needs to try it. And he takes his position while Alfred hits it. He turns it on. It hits Bruce hard, but it doesn't do anything. Alfred tells him the human brain wasn't meant to take this kind of torment. But Bruce tells him, again, go again! So it hits him again, and it does nothing but tear Bruce apart. It's not working. Alfred can see it, and he warns Bruce that if he does it again, it will kill him. It'll kill Bruce. And that's when Bruce figures it out. That's when he deduces it. Why the machine never worked. It needs someone brain dead. It needs the room to put all of the Batman knowledge into. So he tells Alfred, again! And Alfred refuses. He waited his whole life for this. A Bruce that never went down crime alley. And now he wants Alfred to play the role of Joe Chill? To kill him? He won't do it. He won't kill Bruce. But then a voice states, she'll do it. Julie Madison walks over and tells Alfred she'll do it. She'll make him Batman again. They need him. Alfred asks her how long she's known, and she tells him she's always known. She tells Bruce it's bad out there. The streets are in chaos and Bloom is everywhere. The city is being torn apart. They need Batman. So Julie hits the button and she wishes goodbye to Bruce, goodbye to her life with him. It hits Bruce hard with all of the warnings of brain death occurring. And when it's over, Bruce turns to Alfred. Explain what's going on to me in the car. After being flung to the side by Bloom, Julia Pennyworth picked up Gordon and moved him to a chopper to load him up. The army of Batsuits that Jerry mentioned earlier also began moving in to save Gotham. An army of Batmen. Except using his electromagnetic-based powers, Bloom is able to take control of all of the suits just like he did with Rookie, and they all turn on Gotham to continue the destruction. Then a few of Gordon's former enemies arrive on the rooftop, keeping Gordon from being loaded up. One of them tells Gordon that he sapped this building and the bat signal of their power to use it on him. It's only fitting for him to die to the power that he used, because he really isn't Bat. But before he can finish that sentence, his head is shoved into the corner of the bat signal by Batman. No, I am. Hello, Jim. Who died and made you Batman? He grabs a flagpole and he begins flipping and twirling around, taking out the followers of Bloom. Batman is back! When he defeats them all, Gordon walks over to him. Yeah, I was about to do that, the whole flagpole flip thing. I just didn't want to steal your thunder. He then looks Batman in the eyes. I'm sorry. But before he can finish, an energy pulse goes off through the city, cracking the building that they are on. They both look into the center of the city to see where the source of the energy is coming from, and they see that Bloom is drawing all of the energy into the center, to a strange star. Jerry calls Gordon to explain. The super collider in the city, it's feeding on the energy from the seeds that people are taking and funneling them into beams. What he's creating can destroy the entire city if it keeps growing. Gordon tells her they're on it. But as they go to leave, Batman handcuffs Gordon to a helicopter, telling him to get to the hospital. He has this. Up in the Bat Blimp high over the city, Daryl is watching the city burn beneath him, and that's when Duke suddenly arrives on the blimp. He tells Daryl that his parents are a lost cause. They're infected by the Joker serum with no cure. He feels that this whole Robin's thing has led him to this moment, only to have Gotham throw it back in his face that the two people he was trying to honor will only spew venom from this point forward. Duke wanted to quit everything, throw away his Robin art, and quit this gig, even throw away the evidence that he found in Cobblepot's hideout. But he decided to push forward and ask Daryl what he knows. Because the information that he found in Cobblepot's lab is a list of names, and on that list is Daryl and Duke. Cobblepot was tracking a list of grant nominees in an attempt to track Bloom's tech to its source. He looks at Daryl, the man that's been trying to help Jim Gordon Batman since the start, and he asks him, "Tell me what's going on right now." And Daryl turns to him, knocking him to the window, becoming deformed and changed by a seed. No! Out on the streets, Mr. Bloom is walking around feeling triumphant when Batman kicks him in his giant head. And just as he goes in to cut Mr. Bloom's head with a batarang, the robo-batsuits open fire on him. He jumps off Mr. Bloom, and Bloom makes a break for it while Batman is left dealing with the robot versions of himself. Up in the blimp, Daryl explains the power of the seed gives him the ability to control the bioorganic material, so he can hold Duke up there all day. This whole thing was his idea. He was supposed to be Bloom. He wanted to create a way for Gotham to protect itself, for everyone to be their own savior. So he created these seeds and he passed them out as Mr. Bloom, named after Blossom Row. But when he tried to make it work and have a control measure in place, one of his test subjects got all of the power and then took his mask, killing everyone else that was involved. He called himself Daryl's monster, and Daryl had no idea which of his subjects was that individual. Then he bastardized all of Daryl's research. Duke breaks from Daryl's hold and kicks him upside the head. While down on the streets below, everyone is trying to come up with a plan. While Batman is fighting the robots, Gordon has the idea to use the dampener that they used earlier to stop Bloom and the Strange Star, but he needs to amplify it somehow to make it work with someone the size of Bloom. But as he walks over to the antenna that Jerry is telling him will work, Bloom crushes it. He then starts crushing the building that Gordon is in until a giant fist punches him. Batman commandeered one of the giant batsuits, and he starts demolishing Bloom. "Jim, I told you to go to the hospital. I'm on my way. You stayed, so do your part. I've removed the super seed from his back." "That's what I was gonna do, but he destroyed the antenna." "I don't want to hear it. Find a way." Batman keeps beating on Bloom, and Bloom tries to reason with him. "I'm telling you, Batman, we want the same thing." Batman runs Bloom's head through a building, cutting it up. "Join me, and we'll make Gotham amazing. What do you say?" Batman stands still. "Hang on, I'm thinking about it. Stay right there." And then a building falls on Bloom. Bloom breaks out of the building, growing even larger, and then he starts cutting into Batman's batsuit and throwing acid on it. As he stands over Batman ready to end this, a massive explosion goes off on him. Duke is taking control of the Bat Blimp and he's opening fire on Bloom. Batman gets up and he begins cutting open the back of Mr. Bloom, trying to take out the super seed. But Bloom gets up, burying his weeds into the batsuit. Then Duke turns on the Bat Blimp's magnet, pulling Bloom into the sky, pulling him off of Batman. Gordon suits up in his robo-batsuit and walks over to grab a special metal that Jerry gave him earlier. She told him that it was a superconductive metal, so he has an idea. Mr. Bloom tries to struggle to get away from the magnet, but the more that he pulls against the magnet, the more he uses his electromagnetic-based powers, and the more the magnet pulls on him. He can't break free. But the struggle with the magnet is causing the blimp to start blowing up. So Duke grabs a parachute and he makes a break for it. But as he's falling, the chute breaks and he begins to plummet to his death until Batman saves him. Everyone sees that Batman is back and they know that this isn't good for the bad guys. So they start tearing out their own seeds. Gordon walks up to the roof with Bloom being held to the magnet and his strange star almost at max capacity. He holds up the superconductor and he tells the rookie to turn on the signal blocker, and the signal is boosted to massive levels and it blocks Bloom's entire operation. With it blocking all of the energy being absorbed into the strange star and everyone removing their seeds, Bloom's plan is a failure. The good guys win again. Gordon wakes up in the hospital with his hair growing back and his mustache growing back even faster than anything else on his head. Jerry walks in telling him that she shut down the Batman project. With the real Batman back in the city, they don't need any more superheroes. They need heroes, regular people. So because of that, she's going to invest the Batman project money into the GCPD, and doing so got Gordon his old job back as commissioner. Jim asks for a moment and he steps out onto the fire escape where Batman is waiting for him. He apologizes, and Batman told him he did a great job. While Joker is an insane maniac and he's Batman's villain, Bloom was Gordon's villain. Bloom was potentially anyone who loses hope in the city. Then Batman thanks Gordon for keeping Gotham safe while he was gone, and he takes off. Duke went home with his parents found, and he was in tears. Everything he did was for nothing. He didn't save his parents, and he never will. That's when Bruce Wayne arrived with an offer for the young Robin. At the rec center, Julie thought that she saw someone outside, so she walked outside and she found a new brick put into the wall. The bricks in the wall were of anyone who helped rebuild Gotham, and she found a new one that wasn't there before, Bruce Wayne. Gotham. Gotham is a blank page that you write in white font to find your way down. Down, down, down. It's the first line of the last story you'll ever write. Alfred walks down the steps of the Batcave to see Bruce Wayne sitting there, like he should be. He hands him a protein shake and he thanks him for finding a replacement hand for him. Bruce cracks a joke that he doesn't know whose hand they found to attach to Alfred, and Alfred tells him that that's a funny joke. "I'm serious, Alfred. Batman never lies." "I beg your pardon. Batman always lies. It's all he does." Bruce suits up and he loads up into his Batmobile, and as he rides off into the night, there's a rumble beneath the city and the whole city goes black as the night. Alfred tells Batman that he'll get the information on what started the event in 1 hour, but Batman has other leads to follow. The first thing that he does is go to see Jim Gordon in his trench coat with his cigarettes. It's been long enough for Jim to start looking like himself again, an old man with scruffy hair and his glasses back on. He tells Batman that they have no information on what happened, and that's when another police officer reports that with the power out, there are problems at Arkham. Gordon keeps looking in the direction of the police officer who walked up. "I'm not gonna turn around, because you're gone. But be careful." Then, he can't help himself. He turns back to see if he's gone. And Batman isn't there. So, Gordon smiles. Batman arrived at Arkham in time to see Clayface, Bane, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Croc, Riddler, and Scarecrow making a break for it. As Batman got ready to fight them, the director of Arkham turned on an emergency jail cell laser bar, and he told Batman not to worry. He has it under control. "You can go relax, Batman." So Batman walks away asking Alfred if he's gotten anything yet. But the only thing that Alfred can report on is that whatever's happening is happening underground. Deep beneath the city is the Court of Owls as they push their boat across the canals of the city. They push a button to talk to the heads of the Court of the Owls, and they inform the members that this is not of their doing. So then a large woman knocks out the other two men that she came with, and we see that it's Batman in disguise as he reports back to Alfred. "No trail here, Penny One. It's not the Court of the Owls." Batman goes back to the surface where he breaks into the Penguin's hideout to overhear his plans. And the Penguin says that this is not the night for him to do anything. Over by the lake, our mysterious man with green eyes and a crooked smile smacks a bug in his neck stating, "Not yet, not this night." Gotham is sitting with your back to the wall, your hand on the gun, waiting for the doors to swing open. Gotham is. Batman looks into a room where a fire is being started and he jumps in. A man with a beard is shocked to see that it's Batman, and Penny One tells Batman that this man has an extensive record. He could be the man, and Batman glares at him. But the man explains that he used to be in the Whisper Gang, and when Batman was looking for the Owls, he took the Whisper Gang down. The whole thing woke him up, and he went to work at the Gotham Gazette after going to school. Batman saved his life, and right now, he's trying to upload his latest article. Batman turns around and he goes out the window that he came in, telling the man to go home. The man says sure, but he wants to finish this article first. Gotham is constantly surprising. I can only hope that you're reading this, Batman. In case you don't know, I asked everyone what is Gotham. At first, the letters were dark, pretty hopeless. But over the last few years, everything's changed. They've been much lighter than before. I wanted to show you how much Gotham has changed, and I'm hoping you can look around and maybe not see it at its worst. And you can see us at our best. Maybe then, you can take a night to yourself, a night off. Batman went to one of the highest points in the city when he got a call from Alfred. "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that tremor was a natural occurrence. The power should come on any moment." At that moment, it did turn back on, and Batman looked over his city. "Understood, Alfred. Still watching just in case." Gotham is Batman. The end. And there you have it, you've reached the end. We've come to the conclusion of Batman New 52. I'm guessing how I'm sounding, I hope it's not that far off. Did you enjoy this musical ending? That thing was like 2 to 3 hours long. You have rocked out with Comicstorian. It's so cool. I'm gonna stop. I don't know where I'm going with that. For anybody who's new to the channel, typically at the end of these giant, epic, long videos, I like to just goof around and bring you something you'll never see in another ending. So if you don't want to see me singing again, please still subscribe. I don't do it. It's not normal. If you guys enjoyed this,
Don't forget, we're also on twitch.tv/eligiblemonster, where we do all of our podcasts live, and we chat with you guys, we hang out, we play games like Warframe and Elder Scrolls Online, and whatever we're in the mood to play, a lot of AAA titles. You can find us over there Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays, guaranteed, and sometimes we throw in extra days. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where we try to get like extra content for fun. It's a lot of podcasts, so you get like our opinions on TV shows, our opinions on the weekly comic books. We'll do our conspiracy cast over there. We'll do 3 beers and a topic. We're going to film a video real shortly about me and Gary learning what pour over coffee really is and why it's better than his Keurig. I don't know. Gary was all like, I need pods, man. I need pods. And I'm like, what's in your pods, Gary? And he's like, gluten stuff. Glutenstein. It's where I get my... See, if you don't know Gary, you don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Thank you so much.